All right. Welcome, one and all, to the Xbox 2 podcast. This is episode 412. We're almost close to that episode 420, Jez.
Yo,
Yeah,
420
420
is
indeed.
is 420 legal in Chicago, Illinois?
Yes, it absolutely
Mm.
is. Absolutely. But we are back. Jez is here, editor from Windows Central. He's back from vacation, so he's no longer on that $10 party mic that he was using last week. So he's back. He didn't have any audio issues today, which is like the first time it's ever happened in a bit. I still have a little bit of mic issues because I ordered some parts for it, but like it didn't come in on time, and I got to order something else. But hopefully everything sounds fine. But other than that, we're here. How's everybody doing? Nothing catastrophic happened the last couple days, right? Like people are generally happy. July 4th weekend's here. The World Cup is going on. The White Sox are doing great. Everybody's loving baseball. Surely, like the video game industry, everybody's happy and everybody's like, oh man, can't wait for the great games this fall. Like, surely nothing apocalyptic happened, right?
I mean, apocalyptic is the name of the game these days, bro. Ramageddon is what they're calling it. Ramageddon. But I think we'll endure. I think we'll survive, bro. I think you know what? Things will be okay, bro. I think things will be okay in the end.
Well, things might be okay in the end if you're a digital user, but if you're a physical lover, oh boy.
If you're a physical fan, yeah, that was the big news
Yeah.
of the week. Physical dicks
I mean, it's
are
kind of.
now
I mean,
doomed.
honestly, it's probably the biggest news of the year. Right. I
It is.
think.
I
I
think it
think.
is, yeah.
I think it's probably the
It's
biggest
kind of
news
like
of the last couple years. Because I
it
also think this is a story that's going to dominate headlines moving forward.
it's kind of like it's an end it's the end of an era. Like you say end of an era, but really it's the end of an age. It's like the end of an eon, because Sony's the market leader, and if Sony's leading towards digital, like everyone kind of has to follow suit, right?
No, not
So
necessarily. But we do have a lot to say on this subject. We're not going to get into it immediately. We'll get into it pretty quickly. Uh, but we just want a little taste because I'm sure me and Jez has some opinions about this. As you all know, I'm completely digital and been all digital since 2014, since the launch of Titanfall 1. No physical games here for any of my systems, including the PlayStation, which I only have for exclusives. I have all their games digitally. So, you know, I I I do have some things to say about this. I'm sure Jez does too. So this is definitely going to be a very opinion filled podcast. Because not to mention, we also have the Xbox. I don't know what word you would use. Disaster, apocalypse, layoffs, closures. The thing that a lot of outlets have been reporting gossip as news to get them clicks. Cause me and Jez sort of we didn't have a fight about this, but Jez was certainly he feels a different way about this than I do in regards to the reporting about like what studios might or might not get shut down, or what studios might or might not get sold, or what's safe and what isn't safe. And I sort of said like it certainly seems a lot of people are just trying to garner some clicks with some gossip, because a lot of these reports have turned out to be not necessarily true, which is it's one thing to be like, hey, I heard a rumor that maybe, I don't know, Scalebound 2 might come back, right? Or I heard a
help.
rumor about a Banjo Kazooie game that's in development, like stuff like that, which potentially, it could be true. Like there might have been a Banjo Kazooie game in development or what have you, right? But like
Mhm.
when you talk about studios, you're talking about people's livelihoods. Sure, you have the overarching like multi-billion-dollar corporation, and nobody's holding water for them. But like You're talking about
Some people do. Some people
some
hardcore
people
for
do.
that.
Some people are like, leave the billionaire company alone. You know, but there's a lot of people at these studios, that their lives are gonna get
Hmm.
upended because of decisions made above their pay grade by executives that may or may not have been incompetent and made wrong bets and things of that nature. So like they're out of a job, and right now, currently, like you're starting to get laid off. Like it might be very difficult to get another job in the video game industry. Um,
Video game industry has a big growth problem, but we'll talk about that in a bit.
so I was a little bit disappointed to sort of see a lot of reporters engage in what I thought was like chasing the click in regards to studio closures, because let's be honest, like bad Xbox news, ooh, oh, that hits the algorithm. Ooh, people click on it, you know?
Sure does.
And it's never sort of like, I don't even know the term for this, but everybody's always in a rush to be the first so they can garner the most. And then there's really no sort of self reflection by other places, because it's like as soon as an article comes out, like for instance, yesterday's from the game business about Chris String, he put out there that Obsidian was on the chopping blocks or whatever. Literally within seconds, within minutes, virtually every other website had an article about it.
Uh,
IGN, Day One, YouTubers are making videos about it. And it's just repeating what's already been said because everybody is chasing that elusive click. And then, and it's like,
Clicks be elusive.
and even if like you say, well, that's sort of BS, but like, hey, that's the game. That's how. Don't hate the player, hate the game, right? That's how it is. This industry kind of like eats itself, and one place reports on something, and then literally every other website also reports on it. But in this case, apparently it was wrong, and Jason Schreier kind of
Very wrong.
came out and said it was wrong, and then but it always sort of feels like the retraction is never as loud or as widespread as the initial report.
Oh
Like,
yeah,
you know
definitely.
what I mean? And I feel like that's an issue. That's a problem. Um, but we'll talk about all this stuff because there's a lot of things to talk about here. So do us a big favor, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, leave us a like on iTunes and Spotify. We appreciate everyone being here on this July 3rd, the eve of United States kicking the shit out of the UK. My buddy Jez here. The eve, the July 4th.
Oh man.
And it's funny because I was telling Jez before, I'm like, what if the World Cup final was England versus US?
Mm,
And we just
it's not
dominated
gonna
you.
happen.
Not only did we dominate you in the war, but we dominated you in soccer. You know?
Soccer. Well,
Uh huh.
I really don't think England's going to beat Mexico on Sunday. I think Mexico's doing really well, but not only that, but they're playing at an altitude that English people have never experienced. I think they're 2,500 foot above sea level in that stadium.
Where's
So, like
the
for
Where's the
Brits
game
who are
at?
not used to the altitude, that it's the game's going to be in Mexico.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay.
it's going to be in I think it's called the Azteca Stadium or something like that, and it's on a mountain, and Brits, like, the altitude's going to absolutely destroy the British team's ability to breathe. So yeah, I think Mexico's like, but even without that, I think Mexico's just been better than England, generally speaking. England relies almost entirely on Harry Kane. It's like, get the ball to Kane and then pray. That's England.
So
That's
what
been
you're saying
England's
is that all
strategy.
we have to do is take out Harry Kane and we win.
Pretty much. I
Oh,
mean,
okay.
pretty much, man. So so that's it's in Mexico City, says Doom Rufi. Like, I'm not familiar that much with the Mexican stadiums, but I did read that it's like it's altitude is interesting, but yeah, I don't know. But
Oh yeah.
yeah, I've been watching it, man. Like, I've been watching the German games and the England games. Like the last German game was so it was so sad for Germany. Oh man, like it reminded me of watching England go out on penalties. Because England always seems to go out on penalties. But you ain't been watching it, have you, Rand? You not been watching America? America's
Uh,
doing pretty well, ain't they? I think.
I haven't like watched it in the sense of like I'm parked in front of my TV or whatever, but I mean, I'll get notifications and then I'll see the clip. Like I saw the goals that they scored, uh, yesterday or whatever day it was.
Some
So
of the goals have been like absolutely magical, man.
yeah,
What's like the Ghana game was really good. Like Ghana's defense and the goalie was just absolutely fantastic. There's some fantastic football there, man.
yeah. But let's do some quick housekeeping. Jez, this episode is brought to you by our wonderful sponsor over at Surfshark, because Jez loves them. So yeah, Surfshark, Jez.
Oh, one moment, sec. Yeah, we've got Surfshark VPN, which is our current sponsor of the Xbox 2 podcast. So big shout out to Surfshark for supporting us, and big shout out to everyone who's checked out Surfshark. So I'm just pulling up the ad read here, if I can bloody well find it.
Bloody well.
Bloody well find it, yeah. Where is it? Xbox 2 notes. There we go. So yes, this week's podcast is sponsored by Surfshark. Do you want maximum internet privacy? Consider Surfshark VPN, this week's epic podcast sponsor. Surfshark VPN is your only one defense for maximum browsing and maximum privacy. Whether you're streaming shows from abroad, chatting online, or browsing the web, Surfshark keeps your data fully protected with lightning fast speeds and support for unlimited devices. For true internet freedom, Surfshark breaks down digital walls with ease. No more geoblocks, no more limits. Unlock global content and explore without borders. Enjoy a smoother ad-free experience thanks to Surfshark's clean web feature, which blocks ads, trackers, and malware before they can take a bite out of your day. Chump. And with a strict with a strict no logs policy and RAM-based service with advanced encryption, your browsing history stays firmly with you. So here's the offer. Xbox 2 podcast listeners get an incredible 86% off a 2-year Surfshark plan that works out to just $2 a month to keep your data away from shady government quangos, trackers, and other types of online grievances. Take back your online freedom. Hit the link in the description to get started. Search safely, surf securely, and surf with Surfshark. That noise is Surfshark biting malware and governments as they try to snoop on your data.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if you know this, Rand, but like Surfshark VPN, it's actually powered by sharks. So like when like the government tries to snoop on your data or whether like malware trying to attack you, Surfshark VPN actually sends out a real shark to bite them, to bite the perpetrator, and they get bitten and they die. They die if they attack your internet. So it's a very good service. It's just $2 a month to have your own personal shark that will attack people trying to mess up with your data. And they've got unlimited sharks for unlimited devices. It's a fantastic service. Fantastic. You can even name the sharks. I've called my shark Dave. Dave the shark. Rand.
Okay.
Rand.
All right. Dave the Shark.
Yeah, Dave the surf shark will bite hackers who attack your internet. At least that's what I've heard how it works. I could be wrong, but Surfshark, fantastic. Check them out.
Yes. We also have our excellent Patreon supporters. Question and answer thread is up, although keep it on the shorter side because, sometimes it's like when people write 5 paragraphs, it can be like, it's just a question. We don't need super long paragraphs about something. We will answer those at the end of the show. We also have the Xbox 2 shoutouts. We got Adam Bartolo, Alon Grogu, Asatine, Madison, Battered Haddock, Briggs Country, Bright Tundra 1, Silas, Deku 2511, Discarded Caboose, NX Fantasticals, Glenn, Governor Grimm, I Am Chuck Dub, I Mike Zero, Inner Machine, Jay Foley, James Moore, James Wiseau, Justin Duel, Just James 93, K-Trox, Laser Wolf, Murray, Pat Rock, Frosty, RS Donk, Sean Kramer, Shay Elephant, Shrapnel, their Nordic Cannon, Trixar for Trey, Mr. Vito, Walkerman. One of these times, maybe I'll try his last name again, but Mr. Vito, Walkerman, Wolfgang, KPZ, and Young Blood 8. Appreciate everybody supporting what we do.
Youngblood.
Yeah, Young Blood. Got that
Youngblood's
Young Blood.
that Youngblood's that. Have you seen that singer, Youngblood?
No.
Pretty famous right now.
No.
Oh, never mind. Youngblood though. TikTok famous.
Now, I sort of wanted to keep it a little light to start with. And I wanted to have just a, I sort of, I was kind of making fun of some of the journalists in the industry and how they, like, everybody just copies one another and goes after clicks, and about the Xbox layoff stuff, like, oh, guess what, I heard this studio's closing. Actually, no, it's not. But I wanted to take aim at one specific article I saw today that I think you even saw too, or at least I mentioned it to you. And
yeah, it popped up on my algorithm. I saw it in the show notes, and I was like, "What articles Rand's talking about?" And then it popped up in the algorithm.
Because I just wanted everybody here to just make fun of Polygon. Look, and I'm not someone who gets angry at people having a different opinion than me, because that's what life is. Like, you're always you'll feel differently than to somebody else about stuff, right? But they had an article about Red Dead Redemption 2, which, it's like, all right, Red Dead Redemption 2, 8 years ago, what are we talking about Red Dead 2 now, in the year of our Lord 2026, that we couldn't say in fucking 2018, right? And this person, who I don't even know who they are, because I didn't even look, but they basically said Red Dead Redemption 2 is awful. Its gameplay is shit. Which, there's always been the mixed sort of reception to Rockstar's gameplay, right? People kind of, I don't know if you could ask anybody who'd say, like, no, actually, Rockstar's gameplay is top tier. Like, I don't think anybody says that. It's usually kind of just, you get through it, and because you play the Rockstar games for their entire world that they build, and the story that's being told, and the characters, like, nobody's actually being like, holy shit, like, the gameplay mechanics and the shooting and their games are, like, top of the industry, right? But they basically were saying it's a shit game because they don't have an attention span, and it doesn't play well the TikTok audience. And it's like, because they talk about, like, oh, chasing bears and doing these things, and just like, I just don't have the brain capacity to. And I just, like, fucking, I couldn't believe it, Jez. I couldn't believe it. Like, the FBI couldn't get that out of me. You know what I mean? Like, what does it become, bro? Like, where we literally admit in the writing, being like, I don't like this because I can't pay fucking attention. Like, isn't it sad? Isn't this a sad state of not only, like, just our society in general, where like, if it's not easily digestible into a 30-second clip, then it's just bad. Like, another sort of bouncing off thing I've seen here is, I don't know if you've seen or heard about the movie Obsession, right? This big,
I've seen a lot about it. Yeah, I really want to see that.
Indie horror hit that made a ton of money. Like, basically was made on a $700,000 budget. Has made like $300 million worldwide. Huge, massive hit. And it finally came to digital. And, like, my entire timeline, when I get on to look, is like flooded with this shit.
Already?
Yeah, it's on digital now. It's like,
oh shit, I need to buy that.
It's like flooded, but then people are like, I saw people admitting that they watched it on 1.5 speed, or like they watched it, but they don't really know the ins and the outs because they were watching it with their phones, so they weren't paying attention. So this kind of, like, plays into the Red Dead Redemption 2 thing about people's attention spans being too short, and if it doesn't fit into that, like, small window, then it's shit. I thought we could just make
Mm,
fun of Polygon and for
I
people like that because
yeah.
it's fucking
Well,
absurd.
well, I'll tell you what's going on with Polygon. First of all, Polygon was sold to Valnet. So I don't know if you're familiar with Valnet, but Valnet own a huge amount of clickbait websites. Games that you guys will all be familiar with, stuff like The Gamer, for example, or Game Rant. Like these websites which kind of like they are pretty much experts at outrage bait, right? So Polygon used to be like a pretty respectable outlet, generally speaking. They were part of Vox, and they were kind of like they spun off from The Verge, and you know The Verge is Tom Warren and stuff like that. And they're like The Verge for a time was like the biggest tech site in the world, and they were very highly respected and all that kind of stuff. And so they wanted to do a gaming site in that kind of vein, right? And Polygon did really well for a while. But then like some of Polygon's like key writers left, I think, and then Vox started having troubles like a lot of the media is, and they sold Polygon off to Valnet. And Valnet is this endlessly controversial company. They pay their writers per click. They don't get paid per article, they don't get paid a salary or paid monthly. They get paid per click in some cases. So like and I saw like some of the contracts are like if you don't hit a certain amount of clicks or threshold in a month, you won't even get paid at all, which I think is illegal in some countries. But again, this is one of these things where they're outsourcing a lot of their work to countries where they can pay people less. Valnet just seems like a generally awful company, and there's people that I know who work there who are like genuinely good writers and good people, like XDA developers, for example, is a pretty good website. And the editor-in-chief who works for XDA is an amazing guy, really cool guy. I know the guy who runs Screen Rant as well, like he's a really cool guy too. But the people who run Valnet just seem like awful people. And so Polygon's kind of in that universe now where they're kind of being encouraged to do this kind of clickbait. And I think I think me and you both agree, like people are entitled to their opinion, right? But the thing is, it's so increasingly obvious that some of these outlets, it's not even their opinion. It's not their opinion. The article is designed for grift and graft. And it's like, why are you bringing up Red Dead Redemption 2 in 2026 and just saying it's a bad game? It's so transparently for the outrage. It's so transparently for the outrage. It's not relevant. It's just random and chaotic. And it's just like, this is clearly for the outrage. Let's you know, and I see like even future sites, I feel like I'd sit there wondering like, do they actually believe this sometimes when they put some of this shit out? But the thing is, Rand, it's like you say, we've kind of done this to ourselves. We don't want to pay for quality journalism. Nobody wants to pay for journalism. Nobody wants to read anything anymore. They just want to read the headline and then comment or participate. You know, like there was a time where you post a link on Reddit and you get thousands of clicks. But nowadays, when you post a link on Reddit, people don't click. They just read the headline and go straight to the comments to argue about it. We've kind of done this to ourselves. And I was even thinking about this myself, Rand, recently, because I don't know if you saw Rand, but I've been playing Avowed recently,
Okay.
and I was saying to you before, like I tried to get into Avowed a couple of times, and I gave it like an hour, I gave it like an hour and a half or 2 hours, and I was just like, I can't get into this. Like I've been playing it for 2 hours and like nothing has happened, and I didn't want to give it a chance. But like when I was traveling last week, I installed Avowed on my ally, and I was like, I'm really going to give this a go now. And I played it for like 2 or 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours, and I started to get into it. And I was like, oh, I'm getting into it now. I get it now, you know. And I'm sitting there wondering, like, have I got TikTok brain? Is the reason why I couldn't get into Avowed because I didn't want to give it a chance because I got no attention span left? So I'm trying to actively train myself again to actually give things more of a chance now, because even I think like when I'm trying to have this metacognition and trying to like analyze my own thoughts. Even I like, have I got TikTok brain now? Because there's just so much shit going on. So I think like a lot of us could sort of re-examine the way we interact with media, and also not reward these outrage bait farming outlets or YouTubers or whoever, and also put the algorithm down, put Instagram down, put TikTok down, and like read a book or just play a game and try and like focus on one thing at a time. I've made a conscious effort to try and do that, and I genuinely feel better for it, man. I genuinely feel better for it. So I don't know. I think Avowed is definitely a slow burn. I like Control as well. I was talking about Control. I didn't give Control a chance because it didn't grip me in the first half an hour. But like I pushed through that half an hour of sort of slow pacing, and then I love Control now. It's weird, man. But yeah, that Polygon article is just fucking terrible. I just feel like it's a way. Is it a race to the bottom? They might get clicks in the moment,
I mean,
but
I guess
is
maybe
anyone going to come back to them
I
after
guess
that? I
I
don't
guess
think
like
so.
the author said like she or he I'm not even sure um succeeded in probably doing what they set out, which was to get clicks by going viral. And like so she's winning because that's all I saw.
I've never met or spoken.
Oh.
Hmm.
And
Sorry.
so we're talking about it on the podcast, and I did click on the article to read it. So I guess the person won, but I don't know. I feel like what are we doing as like I don't know. I don't have TikTok. I don't. I will watch YouTube Shorts on occasion, like usually before I go to bed. I don't have Instagram Reels, so I am not ADHD or I don't have a short attention span. You know what I mean? I mean, I read books for God's sakes. And I don't even do the audiobook format where you can like turn up to because I've seen people be like, I read 500 books a year, and it's like, holy shit, 500 books a year? How the fuck do you do that? Like, oh, I listen to all my audiobooks on 2 times speed. Like, how do you retain any
How do you
information?
listen it?
Yeah, how do you
Yeah,
listen to
yeah.
it like 2 times? You know, so like I got physical book and 400 pages, and that's the exact opposite of attention span, right? Uh,
Mm.
I don't know. I sort of feel like we're cooked. We're like so cooked, and I use that term. You know, I remember the last time I think I used the term like we're cooked. People were like, "Oh, Rand," but it's really true in this sense. Like, and look, and I'm not
Mm.
saying like you can't like like you have to love Red Dead Redemption 2 because I know people who didn't like it for like honest to god good reasons. Like they didn't like the way the story went or what have you. But like the idea of like I don't like it because I can't pay attention is I hate to say it, I don't really think valid. Like if the story's being told and you can't understand the story or you're like or you just don't get it because you're not paying attention, then that's a you problem. That's not the game's problem or the movie's problem. So, yeah. I don't know. I just kind of wanted to talk about that. Get some of these lighter topics out of the way before we get into the grand thing here. The other thing
Mm.
I did see uh, is sort of they released the trailer for Cyberpunk Edge Runners 2 this week, which I think both me and you watched, right? And I'm not necessarily someone who watches a lot of anime. I loved it. And I was like, how are they going to do another season? Because it was wildly successful. And they released the trailer. It looks fantastic. I can't wait to watch it at the end of the year. But then they also announced a sales milestone for Cyberpunk, which is my current game of the generation. It finally hit 40 million copies, Jez. 40, and I think Witcher 3 is at 50 million or 55 million. I'm not exactly sure of the numbers that Witcher hit, but considering the launch date of Cyberpunk and the whole refund stuff that everyone was going through with the PS4 and the Xbox One versions of the game and how people felt about Cyberpunk when it first came out versus how people feel about Cyberpunk right now,
Mm.
after all the updates, after like the 1.0 or the 2.0 stuff, after the anime release, after the expansion stuff. I mean, 40 million, they gotta feel pretty good about that. I think I did see maybe it was an ex dev from them, or maybe it's a current dev saying that like they didn't necessarily recover all their goodwill, because like it was pretty bad when the game launched. But
Mm.
I sort of feel like if they can nail like Witcher 4 whenever that does come out, then CD Projekt Red would probably regain everything back. But how do you feel? What did you think about the Cyberpunk Edge Runners 2 stuff? Because
I
I think
mean, I'll be honest with you. I haven't watched the trailer,
oh
and there's a
Jesus,
reason.
oh my
No, no,
God.
no, 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 no. It's intentional. It's intentional. I want to go in blind, bro, because Cyberpunk Edge Runners, the first season, is probably my favorite anime of all time. It's favorite short season of anime, anyway. I loved Edge Runners, man. I absolutely adored Edge Runners, and I'm someone who I was a Cyberpunk apologist when Cyberpunk launched. I said the game was amazing and brilliant even at launch. I played it on PC. I didn't see any of the issues that other people saw, and I genuinely to this day I think it was overhated because it was misrepresented a bit in the marketing. People expected sci-fi GTA. I expected sci-fi Witcher, and that's what it was. That's what it was at launch. And yeah, it had some bugs on PS4 and Xbox One or whatever, but I played on high-end PC and I loved it at launch. And fundamentally, the things I loved about it then are the things that were still what I love about it now. Like they changed a lot of stuff, but I think the game was overhated at launch because people wanted it to be Grand Theft Auto. They wanted it to be something it's not. I remember I saw one YouTube video. It was like, "Oh, the police has no AI," and it's like, bro, it's kind of not that kind of game. Was it marketed as that kind of game? Because I wasn't expecting that kind of game. But anyway, I digress. I think Cyberpunk was overhated, but yeah, I want to go in blind to Cyberpunk Edge Runners 2. Studio Triggers they're just amazing, and I tend to do this, Rand, and it's probably not very journalistic of me, but like one thing I've always tried to do as part of this job is I've tried to hang on to my fandom of gaming and stuff in general, you know, like, and I think that's why I piss off some journalists sometimes because I am a fan and I want to be a fan. I think life's too short to give that up, and I kind of refuse to give it up. I'm not going to stop being a fan just because of my job, you know, and I'm not going to pretend that I'm not a fan either. You know, like that's I'm a fan. You deal with it. So that's kind of why I want to go in blind, bro. I'm going in blind to that
Okay,
shit,
I
and
mean, fair enough. Fair enough.
I think they were overhated. I think I think every corporation or every company could use being humbled every now and then. So like if I think like it's kind of like they needed to be humbled because I do think it shouldn't have shipped on Xbox One and PS4 in that state, if at all. So like I think the humbling was probably useful for them for a studio for their growth and to stay honest. But I think they were overhated. I would never hate them, bro. I was there day one. I'll be there. I'll carry that torch. CD Projekt Red is just permanently legendary for me, man. Permanently legendary. I love Cyberpunk, bro. It's just
I
fantastic.
mean, I
No,
love.
I didn't even get a chair. Like Paris in chat. Paris got a
No,
yellow chair. I
of
didn't.
course he's
I had
part
to
of the
buy my
yellow.
I had
He's
to buy
part of
my
the
own shit.
yellow chair brigade. You know, you know.
Oh man.
People still bring up Paris's yellow chair every time. Every time they like disagree with Paris or they think like, "Oh, I'm going to discredit you." They always just bring up, "You got a yellow
You got a
chair from
chair.
Cyberpunk,"
You
and
got a
he's like,
yellow chair. Yeah.
"Goddamn right, I did."
Deal with it.
Yeah,
Deal with it. Yeah.
yeah.
Oh man. I got I actually did get a free chair from the
Okay.
same company. But it wasn't a yellow chair, it was a green chair. I got a Minecraft chair from them. So if you ever
That's not
if
on the
you
same level as the Cyberpunk chair.
yeah. No, but if you ever see me glaze in Minecraft, ever, I don't think I've ever glazed my. If you see me glaze in Minecraft, you can say, "Hey, Jez got a free Minecraft chair." So there you go. I'm exposing myself. But I can't remember the last time I played Minecraft, man. God, I do love Minecraft though. I'm really looking forward. I tell you, like we talk about Edge Runners 2. I want to see the second Minecraft movie. I'd
I
like
haven't
because
even seen the first,
the
and I
mic
never will. I
the
don't.
the no the mic I I love the Minecraft movie. I, I don't know what that says about me. I fucking love the Minecraft movie, and I just love Jack Black, man. Anything Jack Black's in, I just wish I was Jack Black so much. So anything Jack, and I didn't get a Jack Black chair, by the way. I just love Jack Black. So anything he's in, I'm there for it.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I don't know.
Well, keeping on the theme of sort of dunking on people's takes. I guess maybe that doesn't necessarily apply with Cyberpunk, but it does apply to that Red Dead article we were talking about. I did see a tweet chain thread that kind of originated with Paul Tassi, who sort of wrote an article about Destiny 2. Because, like, Sony confirmed all the layoffs at Bungie. I think around 300 people got laid off. They're sunsetting Destiny 2, which a lot of people don't agree with. There's been a lot of push in the community to. It's funny. There's a lot of push in the community to like punish Sony
Hmm.
for that decision, and like reply with like, we want D3 and comments and stuff, and then, well, there's the whole physical game shit, which has Sony's not even like, basically Sony gave their social team like the week off and be like, hey, don't even bother coming in until Monday, I guess. um but the whole thing was like, he wrote in his article that, which it's funny because I think me and you talked about this, uh was that Destiny was like really hardly ever profitable during its entire run, and that
Yes.
a
Yeah.
lot of like the uh the mismanagement by the upper management by having different incubation projects, but like the cost of running Destiny was so high that it really wasn't as profitable of a venture as you would think maybe it should have been. Activision backed out, which should really have been people's like first,
Alarm bells, right?
yeah, alarm bells ringing, like, hey, what's going on here?
Red
um
flag.
but he sort of wrote that, and Tim Sweeney kind of stuck his nose in it, I guess, because he's been on this kick about the AI like tags, like how Steam has this thing where if you use AI, you sort of have to declare it so people know and can make an informed decision. Because I don't know, like AI is, I don't even know the right way to say this, but maybe like the next big I don't know, AI is just like ruining everything. Even though some people love to use it unironically in stupid little clips and shit. But it's like destroying
Has its
environments.
uses.
It has its uses, but it's not going to be like the be all end all of like the tech companies want you to think. But like, so Steam is like, yeah, if you use AI in your games, you gotta disclose it, so like people can make an informed decision who may not want to support a game using AI. And Tim Sweeney came out really against it, said it was really unfair and blah 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 blah. Right. Um. So with this whole like Destiny thing and it not being profitable during its run, he basically came out and said, well, if they used AI, it would have been wildly profitable. So he's like still on this AI kick,
Mm.
and it's like, but dude, if they used AI, would the game have even been any fucking good? Like, I've yet to sort of see anybody put out anything that's like, hey, this game was wholly made by AI or mostly by AI and actually be, uh, you know, a good product in the sense of like, because like AI videos I'll watch, you see a video online, it's like, this looks like garbage, or you'll see like whatever, but it's like, would it is what he's saying is true. If like Destiny was made mostly by AI to keep costs down, so it would have been more profitable. Is that something that would be true, or would Destiny just have failed because it would have been a mediocre product? Which I think it's a mediocre product, but I'm not everybody, and everybody has their opinions. But a lot of people don't think Destiny was a mediocre project, and they love it, and they spent a lot of time playing it. Would Destiny have
Mm.
just have been mediocre fucking slop that wouldn't have made any money regardless if you were using AI? Like, I don't know where you stand on this sort of thing.
Well,
Uh,
the thing about using AI is like we keep hearing now that AI is often more expensive than just using humans. So
yeah.
it's like I don't think using AI tokens to save Destiny. I don't think that would have worked, frankly. Maybe in the future if like the costs come down, but like as of today, like companies are bottlenecking how many tokens they use. They're not expanding how many the amount of tokens they use. But the thing about Destiny is like it was always about overheads. So I think like if you are starting to use tokens to grow Destiny or whatever, or to ship content more quickly, that's not going to solve the problem, which is Destiny's overheads. And I think really that was the issue with Destiny. It was always overheads. Like, do you remember when a few years ago we talked about how Microsoft was exploring buying Destiny, right? They were exploring buying Bungie, and they did their research, and like we talk about Microsoft and like studios they purchased. We were talking before the show, Rand. We're talking before the show, like we didn't know why, for example, Microsoft had bought Compulsion, right?
Yeah.
So like Compulsion hadn't had hits, they didn't have a legacy, that kind of thing. But Compulsion would have been extremely cheap. And like when Matt we're talking to Matt Booty in my interview, who's saying like everything big starts off small. So maybe they were thinking like something like We Happy Few, maybe that could grow into something, someday or something like that. Fair enough. Like that was cheap. But this same company who made like you could argue pretty, I suppose, risky bets on studios like, Undead Labs and or Compulsion and stuff like this. The same studio that is kind of known maybe for making some bad purchasing decisions, they looked at Bungie and were like, nah, nah, mate, there's something just doesn't work here. So I think quite clearly there's a clear opportunity within Destiny. I think there is an opportunity within Destiny. It's a highly recognized IP. It's got an incredibly passionate, dedicated fan base. There is 90,000 concurrent players on there right now on Steam. So and I would expect there's probably even more players on console. I know Destiny just had a big update, so that's helping to drive it somewhat. And also, it's been in the news because it's going to be shut down essentially, or maintenance moded, or whatever. But like there's more people on Destiny 2 on Steam right now than there is on Palworld, for example.
Well, there's more people
Um,
on Destiny 2 than there is on their new game, Marathon.
yeah, that too. So it's kind of like if a game that has this many concurrent players is not profitable, something's gone heavily wrong with the business model. Like Bungie's just too expensive. The game doesn't monetize well enough. The game is structured in a way that is just too expensive. Like the server costs are too high, or the amount of investment that goes into the artwork and that kind of thing. Like I felt this from the beginning with Destiny. They were trying to build like a subscription based MMO light without the subscription, and I think like it just doesn't work. You have to be like free to play, or like you have to have a way to ship content really quickly. And there's only one company on earth that really operates an MMO from the West Coast, and as and that's like World of Warcraft, and that's got a subscription which just went up in price, by the way. And so I just like the business for whatever it was the business model of Destiny just didn't work. But I still think that surely there's some kind of opportunity there if they can figure out a way to get the costs down, or maybe move some of the development to Poland, or one of these kind of countries, or even Britain where the costs are lower. I don't know. Like in Britain, you don't have to pay health insurance for your employees, for example. So I don't know, man, but it's the business model more than the game itself. I think that's the problem. So I think there's an opportunity to make a Destiny 3, but it'd have to look very different to Destiny 2. Very, very, very different to Destiny 2.
I
Very
mean,
different.
I honestly don't think they'll get the chance because I very much think they're gonna run out of rope by next year. I mean,
What's that, bro?
isn't the whole reporting is that the reason they didn't do it is because Destiny 3 would require 5 to 6 to 7 year development and cost $500 million. And if the game's never been that profitable during its cycle, then it's like, why are we going to spend that money on it? Right?
Oh, this is
Because
this is this is the thing about these kind of games. Like, look at Power World as an example, right? Power World is Power World's about to hit 1.0. Power World had like record concurrent player base of 2 million players when it launched. Power World went hyper viral. It was also super cheap to make. It launched in early access. They don't have their own servers. They license out Power World to third parties to run those servers, so on and so forth. So like Like Palworld's got that sort of indie jankiness kind of about it, but Palworld's something that's like it's growing. It's gonna have a trading card game, and like they've got billboard ads going up for 1.0 launch, and it's probably when it hits 1.0, it's probably gonna go up easily to like I would say like maybe 200,000 current or more, like 200,000 modestly. So when Palworld launches in 1.0, but they've got like a very good. They're an indie dev. They're probably the pay is probably lower because the studio's in Japan, and you know they're operating like an indie dev, so their costs will be lower and all that kind of thing, and they're gonna end up having more profit and grow in a more sort of holistic kind of way. Whereas like Destiny did it the wrong way around. They got all this investment from Activision, I suppose, and then they plowed through the investment, and then there was all these rumors about like what's his name? Is it Chris Parsons buying like Ferraris and shit like that, having a car collection? So he spaffed their investment up on like buying mansions and shit, and then sold the studio and then exited stage left. So like a lot of the money that should have gone into developing a sustainable business model ended up just getting spent on Ferraris and shit when it comes to Bungie. Whereas like a studio like Power World or some of these other kind of studios that are making these kind of online connected games, they just had a more future proof business model, I guess. You know, I don't know. And I think this is like to sort of exit off ramp the Destiny conversation. This is kind of the issue that Pete Parson, sorry, not Chris Parson. Who's Chris Parson? I
I
don't
don't
know.
know.
But this is kind of like the Bungie is a case study for what the entire industry is going through right now. The addressable audience for West Coast AAA salaries just isn't there anymore. The number one game on Steam cost $6, and it was made in 2 months by two dudes. And it's made like $300 million in revenue or something ridiculous. So it's like,
What game's that?
the Mecha Chameleon or whatever it's called.
Bro, Mecha Chameleon's $5 and they've $300 million in revenue. They've made 50 million.
30 million. So whatever it was. I
30
can't remember.
million's not
But
300 million, Jez.
yeah, whatever. I was just spitballing. But they've made a shitload of profit, basically.
Sure.
Hugely profitable. And this is kind of like that audience that is playing Mecha Chameleon, they ain't playing Destiny 2, bro. So like the addressable audience for for the AAA customer base is heavily divided and saturated now. So how can you make a game like Destiny? How can you make a game like some of the games Xbox was making, some of the studios that Xbox was pushing out, like on these West Coast AAA salaries using Microsoft's pay grading system, when there isn't an audience to buy those games, like we talked about last week. Our Worlds 2 at $80, like that was never going to work when there's like indie games that are potentially better selling for $6 on Steam. It was just never going to work, was it? This is the kind of reckoning that the
I
industry is
guess it
going
could have
through right
worked
now.
if Outer Worlds 2 was like a slam dunk 90 meta, had people like stopping their tracks to want to play it or whatever, but it came
But
out
then
and
it
it
would have
was
been
just
even more expensive to make.
possibly, sure. Sure, I get what you're saying. And like, yeah, like that goes into the broader discussion of like, making video games is just too expensive and how do we cut the costs, which goes into like Tim Sweeney's whole thing of like, well, Destiny 2 would have been profitable if it was made by AI. And it's like, but even if that is that true? Because I've seen plenty of articles like Ford just rehired a whole 300 new old engineers because AI was taking too
Tokens are
long
too
and
expensive.
costing too much money. And that's not the first time we've seen such things
Yeah.
from companies where it's like, yo, this AI shit's actually costing us more money. Now, maybe there's a difference between like a Ford engineer with the cars and like a game or whatever. And I don't really know the inner specifics of it. But I also think like Tim Sweeney has his like hard on for the AI stuff because he's all up about Valve requiring,
Well, here's my
disclosures
take on
about stuff. So
here's my take on Tim Sweeney's thing. Like, oh, use AI to do development. Why don't you make Destiny then? Use AI and make Destiny. Go on, bro. If it's that easy, go and do it. Go and do it, bro. Because why aren't you using AI for Fortnite? Why is Fortnite in decline? You know, Fortnite's literally in decline, and you've had to lay people off. So use AI to do it, bro. If it's
I
that
mean,
easy.
you could make the argument that
All these fucking
you
people,
make
man.
the argument
It's
that Fortnite it is the modern Destiny and actually was bigger than Destiny ever was. But I mean, that's really neither here nor there. But moving on from that, um,
let's get some super chats before they pile up.
well, no, yeah. But I wanted to talk about this because then we're gonna get into the big topics, right? The Xbox stuff, the disc stuff with PlayStation. So this is kind of the last of like the smaller things. Um,
Okay.
I only saw this because of you, so I don't even know if it's true.
Oh.
But so apparently the Steam Machine has its own red ring of death. Sort of.
Yeah,
So what's going on there? What's going on there?
so the Steam machine has an RGB light on the front of it, right? And the way the Steam machine, when the Steam machine has errors, the way it reports the error is with a red light bar across the bottom. So if you did have a situation where your Steam machine was broken or something, you'd get a red light of death. Um, it doesn't seem like a widespread problem right now. Like, but obviously, like you're gonna have like 1% of units are gonna be faulty or something like that, right? So someone uploaded a picture of like, oh, my Steam machine got a red light of death, and now people are like, oh god, they've made the same mistake Microsoft made. But it doesn't seem like there's widespread errors with the Steam machine now. But yeah, it has a red light of death, and oh lord. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I think that was an interesting choice by Valve, you know, to go in with the red light of death because it is going to conjure those old memories, right?
That is true. That is true.
That's true. It's funny
Um,
because the isn't the light? I think the light on the Xbox isn't the light on the Xbox Series X RGB as well, but it's like locked out. Or am I thinking of the
you no
controller?
you like the Xbox Nexus, like the Xbox logo. You if you hook it up to a PC, you can change the colors of it. Yeah,
Right, yeah, yeah.
yeah. But for
Yeah,
whatever
so
reason, that's only if you do from the PC side of things.
yeah, I don't know. I don't think that there's going to be widespread technical issues with the Steam machine, but if there is, you'll know about it because there's a red line there.
That is
I think
true.
it's more interesting. Did you see what
I
Yoshi?
did.
Is it Yoshi
He didn't
Yoshida?
really seem enamored too much with the Steam Machine.
Mm.
In his I mean, he has some positive things to say, but he didn't. You know, he has some criticisms of the
Yeah,
product.
it's a shame because you know I don't blame Valve for any of this. I think like if the Steam machine had launched like a few years ago when the RAM supplies were in surplus, you're probably looking at like $600 I think for that thing. But because of the RAM apocalypse and because like Valve doesn't have, you know, a strong supply chain and it's got a limited distribution and all the rest of it, and because it is an open device, when it's open, you can't subsidize the hardware. And I know technically, you know, technically it's open. I don't think anyone on earth is using that thing for anything other than Steam. But because it is open, you can potentially install Windows on it. They can't subsidize the hardware, you know, because like if they were subsidizing it and they were selling it at a loss, and then a significant portion of the users bought the Steam machine and then only used it for things other than Steam, they would be giving money away in that scenario. Which, by the way, has implications for Helix, which we'll talk about in a minute. But so I kind of sympathize with Steam, you know, because they've made a box which is way more expensive than it should be, and it's in a way not really their fault, you know. But
Well,
we'll see what happens.
here's what he had to say. He said, "3D performance is just meh. The system recommends to default to 1080p. Am I going back to the PS4 days? Some games take a long time to boot. What is it doing? System UI is easy to use. Being able to boot up by pressing button on Steam controller is a killer feature. Changeable faceplates is nice. Random boot
I
up
love that.
videos is a nice touch. Sticks on Steam controller is a bit looser than my taste. Having touchpad is nice, but it is very touchy and hard to use. It allows me to play Steam games on my living room TV, which is a reason enough to keep it. But the price was very unfriendly. Hard to recommend to people unless for research. So, yeah. So there's all that. So let me get to these super chats. We have Brian who says VR TV should get a balance mode at 40 for GTA 6. I mean, it'd be nice. I know there's like a big
Mm,
debate going on about whether or not the game's going to have a 60 FPS mode because there was, I think, a Polish podcast said they talked to some close Rockstar sources that said actually all the consoles will have a performance mode. And then I think Digital Foundry is basically saying they don't expect it to be 60 frames at all. They expect it to be lock 30. I mean, maybe it has a VRR mode or whatever. I mean, it'd be nice if it doesn't have a 60 mode. Um, Champagne Supernova says Sony will go in a 72-hour blackout. The media will get back to glazing and attacking Xbox for speculative closures. 480 Bungie staff got laid off. Could you imagine if it was Xbox? Imagine. Wow.
well, we won't have to.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Kuehl says at this point, what Xbox studio hasn't been named? I mean, Playground, I don't think has been named. But yeah, there's some of them
Blizzard.
that Blizzard, I guess. He also says Xbox tax is irrefutable now, which kind of goes to some of the reporting.
People have been saying I'm part of the Xbox tax now.
Well, I've seen people say that you're like an undercover place. People used to say this about me. Oh, Rand's an undercover fucking Sony pony. And I'm like, what? Like, oh, because like I would actually play PlayStation games and give them a fair review. Like, some people, there are definitely some Xbox fans and also definitely PlayStation fans. And I guess this is just fandom in general, where anything put out by the quote unquote enemy is immediately shit. So, like, if you're an Xbox fan, you'll definitely see people being like, Wolverine's trash, Saros is garbage, or anything PlayStation puts out is the worst. And you'll see PlayStation fans being like, Forza blows, Halo's never been good, Gears sucks, like, etc., etc. And, it's like that in sort of like every sort of thing. I don't really take those people. They're not serious people, is what I'm trying to say. And it's kind of been like that for years. I mean, it's like the console war at its height. Like it's for whatever reason, like because I'm gonna play the game for what it is and give my thoughts on it. And there was a time where I thought PlayStation was putting out better games than Xbox was at the same time period, right? That people are like, oh fucking Rand, he's an undercover Sony dude, and it's like, bro, like I hardly play on my PlayStation. Like everything I do is on my Xbox. Like
I don't even know. I don't even own a PlayStation.
But I've seen people say that about you, like Jez is causing all these problems. He's. It's like, dude, Jez doesn't even own a PlayStation. Like, he doesn't care about any of their games or anything.
I couldn't care less.
But it was part of it was because Sony came out and said the disc news, and then I think you came out and sort of said, hey, I'm hearing that my Helix may not have a disk drive. So like all
people
these
are asking me.
I know, but I'm saying like I saw some Xbox fans, man, fuck Jez. Sony's getting railed right now, and he has to come out and make it about Xbox. He's just chasing views and clicks. This piece of fucking shit, Yeah.
I ain't here to do Xbox's PR for them, man. People were literally asking me, will Helix have a disk drive? So instead of replying to 50 people in my DMs, I thought, I'll write an article on what I know. And I do have some more information on the disk drive stuff, by the way, which we'll talk about again in a bit. But I really want Rand to go through the super chats because they're going to pile up, bro.
I know. They're going to pile up. But I'm saying, like, I saw this shit, and I just roll my eyes every single time it happens.
I'm not here to do PR for Xbox. I'm here to give you factual information as insofar as much as possible, based on what's going on with Xbox. I'm not here for PlayStation. I'm not even PlayStation users. I don't own a PlayStation, and I don't personally care about PlayStation. But the thing is, oftentimes things that PlayStation does impacts Xbox and the wider industry. So in the context of PlayStation ending discs, there is a story there because it's like, well, what's Xbox going to do, right? And the previous information I had was that Helix was never planned to have a disk drive, but we'll talk about if that might be changing or not in a bit.
Yeah. We have just James, who says, "No, Rand, it's not soccer, it's football, but it's mad how they let England play in Mexico, not the USA, for July 4th." Okay. Uh,
Yeah, altitude sickness, bro.
mm. Mad Mardigan says, "Getting into it early here, but why is Sony being held as the final bastion for saving all physical media? In fact, they may be responsible for the delay of the inevitable of all digital gaming until this point. Love the show, guys." Well, I guess part of it is because they're the market leader,
Mm,
right? So whatever they do might trickle down to everybody else. Like if Microsoft might view it be like they might be like, "Woo! Thank God Sony announced this shit first because we won't get half the blowback." And sort of everybody already felt that Xbox wouldn't have a disk drive because they're even more digital than PlayStation. So by PlayStation kind of leading in that regard and being like, "We're done with this," it sort of also is like, well, if they're doing it, then we can easily just, say it's like a industry sort of thing. I don't know. Uh,
yeah.
Mr. Champagne Supernova says Australia is playing Egypt now. The ref must have seen Special Nick complimenting himself in the mirror and taking out on our team. Angel
Oh boy.
Ramos says Microsoft needs some studios to make Roblox games to subsidize Xbox, Halo, and COD on Roblox. It would be certainly an interesting choice if they did that.
Mm.
Pat Rock says wife was very disappointed to hear there were going to be no more physical dicks. Yeah, I bet. I wonder. I wonder when we're talking about the physical disc stuff if I end up slipping and saying dicks because that'll end up happening. Dexter says, "Give Rand his flowers for predicting the chaos from the industry if Xbox went back to exclusives. It's just 2 games so far, and they are panicking." I can read people's reactions about shit from a mile away. It's an open book about how people feel about Xbox or how they feel about other stuff. It's super easy to predict how certain outlets and certain people will react to something because you just see how they've reacted in the past and to predict future behavior. So I knew if Xbox went back to exclusives in some things, there would be certain outlets and certain people that would fucking lose their minds and be like, "This doesn't make any sense. Why would you do this sort of stupid shit? I want to play all my things on PlayStation." It's super
Mm.
easy to predict. Not everybody. Everybody's. It's not like everybody, but in a general sense, you could feel how a lot of the industry feels right now about Xbox, right? Especially with the upcoming layoffs and potential studio closures or game cancellations and stuff. Um, but yeah, I knew if that would happen, that it would be like a big thing, and that there would be backlash against it. Um,
Mood.
yeah.
Mood.
UNSC70 says, "Do you guys think Xbox is paying attention to the PlayStation physical game debacle? They have such a good layup for payback for 2013. Does Xbox have balls? Are they paying attention? Absolutely. Will they change their plans? Yet to be determined." Right?
Yeah, I'll talk about the latest
I
on what
mean,
I
how
know
could
in
they
a minute.
not be paying attention? It's like literally everywhere you look.
Oh,
And
they are paying
they're
attention, trust
definitely
me.
100% paying attention. And I got an interesting take on it when we get to that stuff, which will be coming up here real soon because we're almost there. Uh, Mr. Walgerman says, with it taking 5+ years to dev a game, is Xbox future contracting studios to dev games for them? Don't have to pay benefits, offices, etc. Just pay for dev or third-party deals rather than in-house. I mean,
That
that's.
is something that we're going to talk about with regards to the layoffs when we get to that section. But it is something that all companies are looking at right now, simply because it's become so expensive to develop games in America, especially on the West Coast. Historically, a lot of these studios and a lot of these studios were set up in California for the tax breaks and stuff. But because of the cost of living, it's become increasingly more affordable to develop games in Eastern Europe, places like Cyprus, Poland, countries like this. And then a lot of the game development is going out to the United Kingdom and China and Japan. Like Japan's resurgent right now. So we are seeing like there is a big outsourcing culture going on. Like a lot of these companies that do outsourcing, they are growing rapidly. I'm trying to remember what are they called now? I can't remember. There's a big outsourcing company that is UK based. Keyword Studios Limited. I think it's Keyword. So Keyword, like you probably haven't heard of them, but Keywords is like this big uh development services company, and they outsource things. They do a lot of Q&A, they do a lot of like code development on Microsoft games already. And then there's the studios like Double 11, for example. Double 11, I think they're making Minecraft Dungeons 2, but they also made the Xbox port of what's that game called now? RimWorld. I played it 200 hours and I couldn't remember the name. RimWorld. They did the port of that. So there is a lot of outsourcing going on, and I think we're going to see even more of that going forward. We're going to see a lot of that going forward. It's going to mean layoffs in the West Coast. It's going to be at the expense of like a lot of staff that exist at Microsoft. But I'm going to talk about some more of the reasons in depth why this is happening right now. And it's still Microsoft's fault, but there is an economic reality here to speak of.
We have Glypher says use AI to remaster Lost Odyssey Legends of Dragoon. I mean, people want those remasters or remakes for sure.
Hmm.
Zero Cool says Jez is a national treasure. I'm sure you like that. National treasure Jez, UK
Thanks
legend.
so much.
Yes.
I
Findle
try.
says
I try.
Jez, it seems the new primary role for Xbox and games is to make or keep IPs that can be monetized, TV or movies. Games are only to keep IP value up. I mean, it
Hmm.
definitely sort of
I think they're
feels
working. They work in symbiosis. I think if the game is popular, then the movie and TV show will do popular. If the movie and TV show popular, then it'll make the game do well. I think there's a symbiosis there. I think you can't just ship a shitty game and expect that to have a positive effect on your TV show. Or maybe you can. I don't know. But it's like there has to be some symbiosis, especially in the other way. I mean, we saw this with the Halo TV show, right? So I think there's definitely I think there is a symbiosis there, and I do think it's the future. And Microsoft is investing heavily in this area, which again we're going to talk about in a minute. What is next for Xbox? We'll talk about it.
yes. But first, if you're enjoying the show, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. All right, it's time, Jez. It's time.
It's time.
Let's talk about the physical stuff. Let's talk about physical discs
Physical dicks.
because I was flat out flabbergasted. I was
Flabbergasted. Damn.
shocked. I
Damn.
couldn't believe my eyes because
Huh.
partially, or not partially, I fully expected Xbox to make this move first, right? Everybody always talks about Xbox rakes and shit. Because we've had this discussion quite often on the show of what is Xbox going to do with a disk drive for Helix, right?
Right.
And it's like a lot of people have Xbox physical collection. And if they're making a premium high end device, you could make an argument just slap a disk drive on there. I mean, if you're already going to sell this thing for $1,200, what's an extra $30 for BOM to give it to like it's the ultimate gaming device, and you can make your super hardcore consumers happy? You know, we talked about that whole thing. We talked about like, well, the idea of an add-on like that PlayStation currently sells, where it's like if you do have a large library, you can plug it in and play your stuff. But I think me and you and a lot of people just assumed, considering how digital Xbox is, that they would be the ones to come out one day and say, we're not doing physical discs anymore. Like, we're just completely digital. You know, they were the ones the first to a digital only console, etc., etc. So, color my, like, when I was up and I think I was actually browsing Twitter at that time, and I saw that tweet from PlayStation. I'm like, I saw it, and my first thing was like, "Are they raising prices again?" Because Xbox just raised price. I'm like, that kind of seems like that. I was, what is this? So I click on it, and it's like, oh, we're ending physical disc production in 2028, starting January 2028. And I'm like,
Physical discs.
I was like, holy shit. And it was also, by the way, we're shutting down the PS3 store and the PS Vita store. And I'm like,
Sad.
it's like,
I
wow.
I got a Vita, you know. I got a Vita.
I know, but I also it's I don't know if they're tone deaf in that regard of, by the way, we're ending physical disc production. Also at the same time, these two digital stores we're shutting down as well. Even though like they I think they had announced they were shutting them down those down like 5 years ago, and there was backlash against it, and they were like they reversed their decision, but now they're shutting it down. So I was like, okay, so now everything's digital, and then you announced two digital stores closing, and then like a week ago it was basically, oh, they had to remove 500 movies because one of their licensing agreements with movie publisher, uh, ended. So it's like it's not really great. And it was like, man, I did not expect Sony to make that move. At least be the first one to make that move. And honestly, I felt that I wasn't really expecting this from PlayStation until like another generation. Right? PlayStation isn't as digital as Xbox is. Um, they still sell a good amount of physical discs, which there's you get store presence and all these sort of things. You keep your fans happy, keep them spending money. And even though it may be, because now there's even a fight about the whole percentages, because like I think PlayStation said like last quarter was like 85% of their purchases were digital, but now people are like scouring through PlayStation's fiscal report or whatever, and they're like, actually Sony's lying because they're including these metrics and not these metrics, and people are going back to the Insomniac leaks and stuff to see the splits. But it sort of feels like, okay, well, like even if it is 20%, that's still like a healthy amount of money, like 20%. So I felt like maybe we're not at that point. I felt maybe it was a generation away for PlayStation, and Xbox would be the first one to do it because they're actually closer to being all digital anyways.
Mm.
But holy shit, the reaction to this um has
Big,
been,
big.
but not even big, like people definitely voicing their opinions. And I mean, I've always said voice your opinion, speak with your wallet, because at the end of the day, it's your money. If you don't want to give a corporation your money, then there's nothing saying you have to. Uh, and dude, Sony's getting clowned from everybody, not just like the fans who are demanding that they reverse this decision, but also like corporate accounts. I saw Domino's like making fun of them. I've seen all these other companies that have nothing to do with gaming clown them. Obviously like easy engagement because
Domino's,
like it's a
Proton
pizza.
VPN. I think even Surfshark was getting in on it.
Yeah, and it just see it's an easy target. People are definitely super emotional. And as someone who's all digital, like I could say like this doesn't affect me. Like I haven't bought a disc in over a decade or whatever. However, there's always a slippery slope you go down when like one publisher or like one entity controls like essentially the pricing for everything. Because you can look at Nintendo and like Nintendo games never go on sale, like hardly ever. And you sort of look at like, well, what if PlayStation has more control over their pricing and there isn't a physical counterpart to sort of drive down some of those prices for sales and things of that nature? Like, well, you're stuck because you can't really buy this physical game at Amazon. You can't buy it secondhand. You can't lend it to anybody. So Sony doesn't have to, I mean, they're already even getting sued for some of this stuff, like in court. So I don't know how that all plays out, but like, it's not necessarily a good thing, even though like I am somebody who enjoys my digital library, and I do feel for the people because like let's just say this, like you think the Banjo Bros are passionate about banjo? The physical bros, they are like beyond passionate about this stuff. And I get it because like I am somebody who loves physical books, right? I have like, I don't know, 500 physical books in my collection. And there is a sense of enjoyment that one does get when like you look at all of them and you're like, man, that's a lot of books. Like, I remember I told you, like, there was a point in time back in like I think it was like the late 90s, early 2000s, where I had a large book collection. I had a large DVD collection that I was building in like the early 2000s.
You,
And I got rid of my DVD collection. Never regretted it once. I sold my book collection, and I've always regretted it. But I understand like how people look at it and be like, how it can give them joy, and the sense of the peace that you would give. Be like, hey, I own these things. I can play it whenever I want. If I do want to sell this, I can. If I, like it, I don't need to be online to play this. Like, I get it. So it's like, I love the fact that people are using their voice to try to make Sony reverse course. Like, I love the idea of the little man, the small consumer, making a $1 billion corporation bend the knee. Like, to me, that's amazing. Like that we could still have the power in the consumer wise, where if you hurt them enough, they could potentially give in, and it's like, hey, we won over a gigantic mega corporation. Like, that brings a
mm,
smile on my face to see. And I mean, because we used to get all these questions about like Xbox and the whole, multi-platform push. And what was always I said, I didn't agree with it. I didn't like it. And I always told people, spend the money where you like, where you want to. Like, if you don't feel valued by a corporation or you don't feel valued by anybody, like, go to somewhere you think you couldn't get value out of it. But always remember that corporations are not your friends. PlayStation and Sony, they ain't your friend. Microsoft and Xbox, they're not your friends either. And I'm sorry to tell you, neither is Nintendo. And Steam isn't either. They're out for one thing, and that's the money in your pocketbook. So if you feel strongly about this, about the idea of like owning physical media, and that's how you like to engage with your video games, and you're going to fight for that, and if you don't get what you want, then maybe you'll take your money elsewhere. I love it. I fucking love it. Like, like, just go at. I mean, I love to see it. I don't know what else to say. Like, fuck the $1 billion corporations, right? Because this move's all about control and extracting more money from the users, which we've already seen PlayStation talk about and their financials and stuff like that. And it's like, it's better for us. We'll make more money if everybody's digital and we don't have to, lose 30% to the stores and all these sort of things. So we'll make more money. I guess the question is, and I don't know how you feel about all this, but will Sony respond, and will they walk it back? What does it mean for Xbox and all this sort of stuff? So I know I've been rambling a lot about my thoughts about this, but I want to know what you think, Jez.
I mean, you summarized most of it, right? It's the outrage. I haven't seen Sony
Oh
endure
yeah.
anything like this in my career.
Well, no, no.
Like
Well, yeah. No, I would say maybe because Twitter
in
didn't
my career.
exist, but like the $600 PS3 and the get you have to have 2
That's
jobs
the
or whatever.
last.
That's really
That's
like
the last thing. Yeah, like Twitter didn't exist, like you say, but that's the last time I sort of experienced an angry backlash, like an angry global backlash, was the PS3 pricing, price disparity, I should say. So the Xbox was so much cheaper, and Xbox capitalized on that. And it's like you say, like I think you said on last week's show, for Xbox to really, propel itself back to the top, not only do they need to absolutely nail something, but they also need PlayStation to absolutely fuck something up.
Yeah, they
This
would
is
need
one of
one of
those
their
opportunities.
competitors. They would need one of their competitors to make a mistake. And it's funny because somebody always ends up making a mistake. Somebody always does. PS3 pricing, the Nintendo, the Wii U, Xbox with the DRM. It's just that maybe in like the last generation, nobody's really made any mistakes. So there's a little bit of like I don't know if this is going to happen, and I would imagine it's not. I would imagine there's a lot of discussions because I see people tweeting at Asha being like, "Oh my God, you'll win if you have a disk drive on this on the Helix. Uh, all of us PlayStation fans will become Xbox fans and buy your games because like there's no digital library. Like the physical games, it's not like a digital thing where you're locked in. Where like you can make the argument like me and Jez locked in because all of our digital games are on our Xbox. But if everything is physical, you're not really locked in. It's like you just fucking buy your games elsewhere. You're not, like, yeah, sure, you might have to keep your PS5 plugged in to play your PS5 discs or whatever, but you're not necessarily locked in like you are digitally because you can't really take those elsewhere. And I guess, well, you can't really take your PS5 discs elsewhere, but I mean, you get what I'm saying. So there was a thought I had where I was like, because I said for Xbox to sort of, I don't know, like there are people like, what does it mean for Xbox to win, or how do they get back into the discussion or whatever, and it's like, well, they need to nail exactly what they're doing, like their plans. They need to fucking hit it on all marks, and I think they need one of their competitors to fuck up. Is this that
Well, this
fuck up?
is
Is this that fuck up? Like I'm gonna throw like a position out there. Is like, is this a fuck up big enough where it
this.
lasts long enough where people actually don't buy a PS6, stop spending money on PlayStation, and Xbox is like, we could do the thing where it's like, actually, we will support physical, and somehow they're able to like claw back some market. I don't know exactly the work, but I always felt that they did need a fuck up by somebody else. And is this that fuck up? I guess.
Well, the fact that Xbox hasn't done anything to capitalize on it already probably says it all, right? It's probably like they are potentially not saying anything because they know the way the wind's blowing. If they try and capitalize on it now, it's only going to come back and bite them in the ass later when they have to be like, well, discs are probably going away for us too. I'll say this: the latest information I have was that Helix was never planned to have a disk drive. However, Tom Warren put in an article when he was writing about this that nothing has been decided for Helix yet. Things had been decided for Helix previously. However, Tom had more up-to-date information, and that they are now seeing what might be possible about Helix with regards to discs, because they are like the backlash has been palpable, and like Tom Warren is right, because I read what Tom Warren had wrote that they haven't decided about Helix, and I was like, huh, that's not what I heard last time. So I went and tried to update my information, and it does seem like indeed they are trying to figure out what they can do here before they fully commit to the death of physical discs. If people, I know some people are wondering, like, why does Jez keep saying physical dicks? It's because on an old show, on a podcast a while ago, Rand misspoke and said physical dicks instead of physical dick, which I thought was hilarious, and is now something I'm going to carry forward
Yes.
forever to
It
remind Rand
is
that he
hilarious.
needs.
And look, you don't
He
have
needs.
to do that to remind me
I'm
of
going.
my foibles when it comes to pronouncing certain words. Yes. So anybody, so
Physical dick.
I'm sure this will get, I'm sure our podcast will be clipped by other people, and they'll hear you saying dicks, and they'll be like, "What the hell is Jez doing?" Just know that it's like it's an inside joke, and the people who've been
It's a
listening to
me.
this podcast literally know what we're talking about, right? So there's
Jez is just randomly popping off about dicks. But anyways, with regards to physical discs, so I still think there's very little chance that Helix will have a disk drive natively, because I just think like the economics of having a company that prints discs is become unviable. I think like even if you look at the split between digital and physical, it's something like 85% for PlayStation. It's probably even higher for Xbox, probably looking at 90%. When manufacturing operates on scale, right? And if you are the only company on earth commissioning a disk drive, that company, like, their costs are gonna go up. Like, volume impacts how much things cost, and if you are manufacturing things in such low volumes, you have to pay a premium, you know? It's when things are, like, higher volume that they get cheaper, and if PlayStation now is, like even PlayStation's exiting the market, Xbox's costs are gonna go up. So, I think the idea of an Xbox Helix disk drive attached to the box is vanishingly low, because it's one way that can reduce the costs, even if it's just like, you know, an artificial amount like $20 or $30. They can reduce the costs and reduce the sticker shock and improve their margin slightly, because when you are like looking at selling, like, you know, millions of these devices, like having an extra $20 at the scale of like millions of units, it adds up, right? So I don't think Helix will have a disk drive out of the box, even though there are value in it. But I think what is more possible than ever, is that Microsoft might figure out a way to make an external option for people who want to carry that forward, right? So
Well, this
I
even
th-
kind of well this kind of goes into, and I'm gonna get back to the PlayStation thing because I still have more stuff to say, but the whole Xbox disc to digital stuff. How would that work if there isn't a disk drive? Is that something you would just do online? You know what I mean? Like the whole like Project
so
Positron or whatever the fuck it is.
Yeah, so it was in that article that Tom Warren put out, which offered some more details on the way Positron was going to work. And I spoke to some of my sources, and they were like, this is the way it was going to work in 2013 that Xbox badly communicated. So, like, when some people talk about, like, what Xbox was going to do in 2013, where you have to take your disc to a retailer and get it unlocked, according to my sources, that was never the plan. It was just like Xbox communicated it so badly that they had to just cancel the whole thing rather than go backwards and forwards. So the way, like, you could do it with retailers, but one of the ways it was going to work is the way Positron is supposedly going to work, according to Tom Warren and my sources, which is you basically put the disc into your Xbox and it registers the disc to your account, and then you can take the disc out and put it to the side. If that disc is then installed on another Microsoft account, like you either lend the disc or sell the disc, then you lose access to that digital license.
Is there a
So
check-in? Because how would they know though?
there's no check-in.
So like I could essentially buy a disc, give it to a friend who never goes on. Well, I guess.
Oh no. There would be a check-in once you took that disc. If you like to get the digital license, there has to be a check-in. Obviously, it has to ping the Microsoft account servers. It has to ping the Microsoft account servers in order to know that it's digitally registered to your device, right? But once you've done that check-in, which, you know, we're talking kilobytes of data here. You could like network off your phone or wherever else, like use 5G, something like that. You could do the check-in like that. But once you've done the check-in, the disc is now registered to your device in perpetuity. You don't have to check in again. It only, like, when you pass the disc on, the
Yeah,
new check-in,
but my point
then it
is,
registers the disc.
somebody could keep their console offline. You could give the disc to somebody else, keep your digital version of it. They could install it offline and play the disc. What's to stop them?
Yeah,
What's to stop you
you would
from
have
then?
to you would have to keep your Xbox offline forever.
Sure. I mean, some people don't need to go online. I'm just saying, like, because the whole thing on 2013 was that it was a 24-hour check-in. Like, okay, you install it, it's digital, you sell it, uh, like somebody else like it was the
I
whole
think
like
you I
24-hour
don't think
check-in that would protect
from
it from.
what I've heard is that in this Positron system, there's no check-in.
Okay, all right, fair enough, fair enough,
But
fair enough.
if you do set your Xbox online, then it checks in.
All right,
Because the
interesting.
data, if the data's on the disk, then fine. But it's like, you know,
So is Positron and the disc
you have to keep your Xbox offline forever, which nobody does. Literally nobody does that.
fair enough.
So, you know,
So is the Xbox Positron just a digital thing? Was this in a response to the potentiality of them not having physical for Helix, and they wanted to do something where it's like we need to figure out for people that have a physical library that can continue on moving forward? Well, at least they'll be able to play digital versions of their physical games, or is this something that were always planning on doing, regardless of whatever the plans for Helix were? It was just, we're in this position, we can do it now, so let's do it. What do you? Does
So yeah, I've been trying to work out what the timeline for this was, because my thing was like, why didn't they just do this? Why hasn't this been a thing already? Like, why didn't they do this for the cloud? Because one of the big disadvantages of having physical discs is that you don't get the cloud version, right? And or the streaming version, and you don't have the Xbox Play Anywhere version, right? So if you're an Xbox One user, or an Xbox Series S and X user, which has an Xbox Ally, but you've also got physical discs, you don't get any advantages from the Xbox Ally then, because you don't get you don't get the Xbox Play Anywhere version. So I think part of it is just like, this is something they've been working on for a while, because the Xbox, uh, this is one of my other sources told me, Xbox has been doing this for a while, where every single one of their discs has a unique identifier attached to it, which they can then attach to your Microsoft account. There was like a batch. There was a batch of games which didn't have the identifier, which I think was during the disruption from the Xbox One era. And then they were like, oh, well, actually, maybe we should attach an identifier to it, because we are eventually going to do cloud and Play Anywhere and that kind of stuff. So they kind of future-proofed the discs, like a lot of discs, in the knowledge that one day there would be this digital conversion or advantages to having like a unique identifier on those discs. And you can call it DRM or whatever, because, you know, that ship has well and truly sailed. And I think it's funny that like nobody blames Steam for fostering this, because it is Steam which really started the whole digital conversion thing. It wasn't like Xbox was late to the party. It was Steam that started this. And then the audience gradually was just like, you know what? Digital is more convenient, so let's increasingly go digital. And to be fair to Valve, there's so many benefits to being digital that people just went to digital because of all the benefits. Like on Steam, you can pool your licenses with up to 10 people, which is insane. Like I do that with a bunch of friends, and our libraries, like I think between us, we've got like 2,000 games or something like that on Steam. So like, and whenever they buy a game, like I get access to it as long as they're not using it, right? So that's like a huge advantage on Steam, and that was the advantage that we were supposed to get with the Xbox One, but everyone went crazy. Microsoft communicated it really badly, so we never got that feature. But it sounds like now Microsoft is kind of like, well, people are gonna like increasingly get used to this now, and people see the benefits of it now, and people even want it now, evidently, from like the fact that even PlayStation is like a 90% digital split. And now the economics for actually printing the discs is like increasingly not working, whether it's because of tariffs, whether it's because of the raw materials or the supply chain issues, whatever else. Like, I think we were talking before the show around, and one of the things is like, okay, imagine if half of all the people who buy physical discs quit PlayStation. It's potential that, like, as long as like the other 5% converts to digital, Sony might end up better off with that 5% leaving, you
well,
know,
yeah,
because of how the economics
that's
around
the other
discs work.
thing. It's like, because I see people be like, how do we hurt PlayStation for this? How do we make them aware of our displeasure? And it's like, well, companies typically they only real feel it in their pocketbook. So if you were to like suggest, or I would suggest, like, what could you do? Yeah, you can make your voices heard. Absolutely. You want to tweet at them constantly, whatever, make your voice heard, but like realistically they're only going to feel it in their pocketbook. So like, where would you do the most damage? And it's like, well, you could cancel your PlayStation Plus subscription, right? That's an
Hmm.
easy. That sort of happened with Xbox Game Pass when they raised the price to $30. A lot of people canceled. I mean, Asha confirmed that when she talked about it, how basically, they lost a whole bunch of subs because of it. And it was one of the reasons why they removed Call of Duty, so they could lower the price, because people were just like, there was a bit of a protest being like, this is bullshit, and also a bit of like, $30 is too expensive. But that's an easy way to be like, all right, especially if there's like a whole bunch of cancellations at once,
Hmm.
because then they're gonna know like, oh, these people are really, really, really pissed. But then it's like, well, what else really could you do outside of just canceling your PlayStation Plus subs? And it's like, well, I mean, honestly, it's sort of like, probably where it would hurt Sony the most, cancel those GTA 6 pre-orders. I mean,
Damn.
like that's where Sony's
Is
gonna
anyone
make.
gonna do that though?
Well, I'm just saying, like, see, this is where people's behavior sort of comes in sight, because you look at like PlayStation, they may be thinking to themselves, we'll let people bitch and they'll get over it. Because you want to know why? We got Wolverine coming at
Mm,
the end of the year. We got God of War Laffy coming early next year. We got Grand Theft Auto 6 coming in November. People will wear themselves out bitching about this. The anger will only lessen over time. It's not like they announced this and also like you could pre-order the PS6, right? Because I feel like that was one of the big issues with the Xbox One was they announced the Xbox One, revealed it, and then it had this DRM shit, and the DRM stuff completely overshadowed the Xbox One, and because of it, everybody was like, "We're gonna make a stance. We're not gonna pre-order the Xbox One," and it got to the point where the pre-orders were so low that basically they had to reverse course. Because this was the other bit of like thing when I was thinking about like the PlayStation and why would they announce this so soon? It's 2026, middle of the year. You're probably not revealing the PS6 until a year from now, if it even
mm,
launches at the end of 2027, because there's a chance it's not coming to the end of 2028. So maybe the reveal of the PS6 isn't even until 2 years from now, right? So it's like,
yeah.
why would they announce it now for something that's happening early 2028 that would affect mostly the PS6 business? And it's like, did they think, oh, well, we'll get this under all the Xbox doom and gloom that's going on right now? Like all the Xbox uncertainty, all the Xbox, studio closures and layoffs and stuff. We can kind of come in and maybe like announce this bad thing, and people are just going to be, they're not really going to see this, and they'll be too concerned about like Double Fine and compulsion or whatever. Did they think like, hey, maybe we could sort of slide this underneath the GTA 6 hype? I don't necessarily believe that, because I don't know, GTA 6 isn't really coming out for a few more months, and it's not like there's not like trailer 3's been out yet where they could sort of like hide underneath it. It's just kind of an unforced sort of thing where it was like they announced this, and then like information came out that, oh, actually this has been in the plans for a bit, that the plant that Sony owns that they use to print the discs is
Being
transitioning.
refactored.
Yeah,
Yeah, being
it's being
refactored.
transitioned to making like optical lenses. So it's been something that's been planned for a long time and
Yeah.
probably workshopped into their, like cost of the PS6 and all these sort of things and that business over there and what have you. So maybe they were worried about this leaking out in some way, some manufacturing contracts coming up or whatever, because say what you will about PlayStation, but normally stuff doesn't necessarily leak. Like, yeah, maybe maybe State of Play dates will leak. Maybe certain specific game stuff will leak, but sometimes it does seem like PlayStation runs a tighter ship than Xbox does, because Xbox stuff
Mm,
seems to leak everywhere. And say
hmm,
what you will, I haven't heard, there was not a single insider or self-proclaimed insider that talked about this idea of PlayStation ending physical disc production. Not a single one had come out to even sort of hint at the idea that, hey, maybe with the PS6 you're going to lose your physical library, because they're not like at all, period. So maybe that was kept like super high up the chain, or maybe people that knew just didn't want to, I don't know, like tell people, or like for, clicks and stuff. So I sit there and I'm just like, okay, is Sony hoping
Hello,
that?
my name's Louis.
Oh,
fine.
is their name Louis? Is that what it is, Jez? What are you doing over there?
It's one of them auto playing ads on Windows Central. It's so
Oh,
annoying.
okay, all right. Well,
Sorry, go on.
because I was thinking like, all right, do they think that, all right, the reaction is going to be big? I honestly think they
Yep.
knew that the reaction was going to be very strong, because even though the physical the forever physical people are a minority. They're a very vocal minority, and it really seems like the entirety of that audience is almost on social media, right? So it definitely seems like super big.
Old
And
heads.
well, sure, you could say that, but it definitely seems like they knew that this reaction would be strong. I mean, they haven't tweeted since. It's been like a full 2 days. And honestly, they're probably not going to tweet tomorrow, and they're not going to tweet on Sunday. So I sort of wonder if like it'll be business as usual on Monday. So I think I said this to you before the show. I said it sort of
Mm.
feels like their next official communication will tell the whole story. And what I mean by that is whenever they tweet next, whether it's tomorrow or whether it's Monday, if the next tweet isn't a retraction and being like, "Hey, as companies do, like we listened to you, we heard you guys, and because of it, your voice matters to us, and we're gonna do this, right?" And reverse course on all this stuff. It's either gonna be that, or it's gonna be like, "Hey, GTA 6 plays best on PS5, pre-order here." And they'll just completely ignore it. But like I've seen people go like cuz like they're also promoting the Spider-Man movie. And a lot of the posts underneath like Sony's like is like hey, change like reverse your so it's like all the Sony sort of like things are getting hit with this backlash. So it'll be interesting to see how they navigate through it and if they really think that this is going to be a sustained backlash and a sustained boycott where it's like there's no PS6 to pre-order, so it doesn't overshadow that because the PS6 is like year out or 2 years out or whatever it is, and people could essentially that Sony might be thinking we'll let people complain and get all their anger out right now. So by the time they see the PS6 and see what it does and sees the exclusive games, they'll just be like, "Okay, well, you got us. I guess we're
Whatever.
okay with it
Mm.
now, right?" Like but like so if you're talking about what you could do to show, I mean, you could say, "Hey, don't like buy like oh, well, you know what we could do like instead of buying this game digitally, we're gonna show Sony, we're gonna buy Wolverine physically, or we're gonna buy these games physically." It's like, well, is that? I don't know if like still giving them money is like the best idea of like we'll show them by buying this game physically instead of digitally or whatever. But I mean, they're gonna make all their money because of GTA 6 this fall. I mean, that's what they're banking on. Like, so you could say, yeah, Wolverine's first party, but their whole business is going to revolve around selling fucking 30 million copies of GTA 6 or whatever it's going to be, right? So like you could be like, yeah,
Mm.
cancel your PS Plus subscriptions, but realistically it's like cancel those GTA 6 pre-orders. And sometimes you sort of
Just
wonder
seems
if
so unrealistic.
well, if you really
Boycotts
truly
just don't
I
work,
mean
man.
cuz remember GTA 6 is not physical. There's going to be a physical version for at least a physical presence in stores, but it's just a code in a box.
Mm.
So if you like, that's the game to really kind of fuck you. We're canceling our pre-orders, and we'll buy it on another thing or whatever. Other than that, it's like yeah, keep on doing. So it's like I hope they overturn it because I would love to see it. I love to see $1 billion corporation bend the knee to little old consumers, right? Um, because that also like if Sony also sort of changes their minds, that might also cause Xbox to change their minds because then if Sony changes their tunes and like actually we're going to do physical now, then Xbox might be on the outside looking in and they don't need any more negative news than they already get. So they might be like fuck. Like we kind of have to we kind of also kind of got to do physical too. And then physical maybe lasts for but that's the thing is like even if like even if like we win or the people that are really against this, I think there's still the writing's on the wall. It's kind of like with the PS3 store and the Vita store, where it was like they announced a closure, people complained, and it got a reprieve for 5 years, right? And they're probably not going to go back on that now. But you already know what Sony's plans are. You can see it. They're telling you. So even if we get a reprieve and they say, actually, we're going to support physical, then this is the last generation of it, because they're certainly not going to support it, with the PS7. They're already telling you who they are and what they want to do, especially with like the rising component costs and all these things. They probably think, hey, if we can get everybody onto digital, that'll help mitigate our costs, right? Like if we're getting more money per sale, from this than the physical stuff. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. What do you think? Why do you agree that why do you think they announced this so early? Like, do you think it was just let's get everybody's anger out now? When the PS6 comes out, people won't be as loud. Like,
I think
what's the reasoning behind that?
well, it's kind of funny, right? Because people like to I don't want to say conspiracy theory, but people like conspiracy
Sure,
theory.
of course, of course, of course, of course, of course.
And one of the things is like, oh, did Sony announce this because Xbox is announcing bad news, and they think that bad news around Xbox will help bury it? Like, I genuinely don't think that's the case, right? And I know like conspiracy theories like abound and all that rest of it, but I genuinely don't think that's the case. I think the reason they announced it now is because the refactoring of those factories has begun, and it was going to leak. Like all the people who work at those factories, like that make physical discs, it was going to leak to someone. And I saw this today that Stephen Totillo from I can't remember the name of his newsletter now, but Stephen Totillo, GameFile, yeah, okay. So Stephen Totillo, he actually published like some of the internal emails that Sony's been sending out to manufacturers and being like,
Publishers.
and being like, yeah, and they've been saying like, oh, you'll still be able to order physical discs for your back catalogs for a while and that kind of thing. So it was gonna leak, and I think like you can't like when it comes to like manufacturing components and there's like hundreds of employees at these factories, you can't keep that shit under wraps. Like Samsung phones leak because of the factories and the rest of it. So I don't think it was timed necessarily around the fact that Xbox was having layoffs. Personally, I know people are gonna doubt that and whatever, but I don't think it was timed that way. And the reason I don't think it was timed that way is because I speak, like my sources, for example, said, "Oh, Xbox." It was Chris Dring, right? Chris Dring in his podcast on the game business, right? And that he has some like really fantastic interviews with devs and asks good questions and stuff. But his reporting on Xbox is honestly it's just not good. Like I don't know who his sources are, but they're like his sources are not good on anything to do with Xbox, frankly. And one of the things that he put in his report was that Xbox, like they used Apple's announcement of raising the price of the iPhone to try and bury the news of the Xbox price going up. And it's like, bro, like no, this is just ridiculous. And I know for a fact this isn't true because this all revolved around the fact that Xbox's fixed memory price contracts were expiring and had to be renewed, and because the new price they negotiated was higher, they had to factor that in, and they had to announce it. And they were like, okay, well, our memory costs are going up. Nintendo also announced their memory costs are going up as a result of the fact that their previous contracts were expiring. Like Apple has an iron grip over its supply chain. Apple literally invested in those factories and those some of that supply chain. Apple literally invested in them, and they're one of the biggest buyers of RAM and memory on earth. And even Apple couldn't keep their prices down, right? So that some of the smaller players are clearly going to be impacted with regards to this, and and sometimes it feels like these things are coincidental to the point where it's like, oh, of course they announced it because of Apple, right? Xbox announced price increase because of Apple. And it's like, no, bro, it's just the timeline with these, like the way these contracts have expired. So, I don't think they announced it strategically speaking, and even if they did, it clearly hasn't worked. Because look at the amount of backlash they've had on their hands. The backlash is enormous. You've got like huge mainstream YouTubers talking about it.
Dude,
You've got Gene
Gene
Park,
Park on CNN. Like I saw
BBC. It's on the
Trevor
front page of
Noah
the
was talking
BBC.
about it. Like
Yeah,
it's reaching like
on the
mass
front page of the
levels.
goddamn It's mass levels. So, but it's like you said, they've started a 30 million, I think was the rumor, 30 million refactor of one of those factories making the components. They've started a huge
Hey, I
refactoring.
mean, Sony
They,
blew more money
they
on
can't
Concord,
cancel, right?
so No, I mean they could. I mean, they blew more money on Concord, so that's.
Mm,
I mean, I don't know. Like, you could go with. It's just it's hard to see, like, especially if this has been in plans for a while and this is what it was going to be or whatever. It's like, do they think that the backlash will die down and won't be significant, and people will just be like, "Oh, GTA 6 is out, and here's Wolverine," and just forget about it, and then by the time the PS6 gets revealed, whether it's next year or the year after, then it was like people just sort of give up and be like, "Oh, whatever, this is just the way it is," because it's like
I
fresh
think.
now, like it's an open
Mm,
wound now. It's been 2 days, and it's like, we don't want this future, but like usually, sort of these sort of things like kind of taper off or die down the longer it goes, and like if and yeah, again, like Sony's gonna get shit for this for the foreseeable future. Like, they're already getting shit for uh, uh, you know, the whole Destiny stuff, and that's like one game with one community. This is like the much larger gaming community. Like, I've seen like mainstream people talk about this that you wouldn't think
mm,
talk about it, and it's like, man, and I always like I said, like, I'm all digital, so I know I could do the easy thing and be like, this doesn't affect me. But it sort of does, because it if they control the pricing, it's like, well, does that mean pricing? Because you won't have any sort of other option. It's like, if your option is just to buy from PlayStation and they control the pricing of it all, and it's like, well, you do less sales, and then it's like, unless they're also going to be like, so this is the other thing I don't get. If they had like a positive thing, like, like if they had something like an Xbox disc to digital, where it was like, we also, because I've seen people say that, like, if they had something positive, like that they were going to do, like some plans for the PS6 for like your digital rights management, and maybe they were going to do more, so it was like, hey, maybe we're planning on a better refund system, or even though Xbox has this now with the whole gifting and sort of Steam, like, we're actually going to implement like game gifting. We're actually going to implement the ability to um, sell your digital games, and people could buy used digital games from a marketplace, or like that's just like spitballing right here, like something that makes the digital platform of PlayStation a better place now. With losing physical,
mm.
like, you get more rights from it, but like, maybe they, like, you would say, like, well, they wouldn't really announce that until they actually announced the new platform, what it offers. And they were just getting this out there now, and now it's like, well, do we speed up that? If you had any of these plans or any of these ideas, like, should you have led with that and be like, yeah, we know that we're ending the PS6, digital stuff or physical disc, but these are our plans for, digital ownership moving forward, where like, we're gonna have it like Steam, where you could share it up to like 10 friends, where they, you know what I mean, where they could mitigate the reaction to it, and people might be like, oh, that's pretty cool, but they didn't. So it's like, I I don't know. I'm sort of like I said, I was flabbergasted. I was shocked, because I did not expect this on a random, what was it, a random Wednesday in July. Um, Among like all the other bad things going on, it's just PlayStation's like, by the way, here, and it's like, did they just shoot themselves in the foot? Is this like the in that Xbox could get if they really were? But then it's like, well, is Xbox in the same position? Because I always did say, you need someone to fuck up badly. Is this a big enough fuck up?
Mm,
Because like, you read like Special Nick's tweets and stuff, our buddy Special Nick, he thinks people are just going to be performative about it now, and then just like, when the next, not really do much about it. And even if they, even if you lose, even if, like, say, PlayStation likes the 20% physical, and if you lost 10% of those people and they started playing on PC, uh, maybe with those people
mm,
buying digital, they may actually make more money, and to them it might be worth it, even if they lost actually some users, but the users that they did keep are actually spending more, so they're actually making more. I don't know. It's one of those things. I'd be very curious. I would love to be on a fly in the wall right now at like corporate PlayStation and seeing like how much this has rattled them, if it's rattled them at all, if they did have some future plans, and if they have
Yeah,
those
you
discussions.
have to wonder. You have to wonder, like there was one of the things in Chris String's podcast was he was like, and again, I take everything on his Xbox reporting with a huge truckload of salt, but he was saying like there was he was saying there was like one studio head he spoke to said there was this sentiment that Asher listens to Twitter too much, and I'm just like, okay, maybe that's one person's opinion, but you have to wonder to like what extent is the sort of like the backlash? To what extent is it just sort of like just sort of in a bubble, you know, the social media bubble? Because there is a silent majority, 90% people it's not going to affect, you know, like me. Like I don't buy discs and I haven't bought discs for decades. It's not going to affect me personally. Like if Xbox said if it was Xbox announcing this week that they were going to go all digital, I do wonder, would the backlash be as big? Because I feel like people have been expecting Xbox to go all digital for a really, really long time. Like the Xbox Series S is all digital, the Xbox Series X that's all digital, and like Xbox is usually the one that leans into trends. And I think everyone deep down knows that we are trending away from discs, right? So I do wonder, like, would the backlash to Xbox doing this be as big? Because I feel like people are almost expecting Xbox to do away with this. But like for Sony to do it, it feels uncharacteristic of them sort of rushing headfirst into in this kind of thing. Usually they're like, we'll let Xbox step on the rake first. But at the same time, it's like you said, like most people are not impacted by this. So I do wonder, like, it's going to be very interesting to see, like, if they do backtrack somehow, because you know, it's not it's not hugely expensive to have a, a supply chain for making optical drives. I would have thought, like the amount of money that I've heard they've spent on the Grand Theft Auto marketing, for example, is absolutely eye-watering. And like this is the kind of money, like it's not that expensive comparatively to have a supply chain for optical drives. And also, I think this is another aspect of this which I think is underrated, Rand. I kind of think like PlayStation and indeed Xbox, if Xbox does this as well, I do think they're kind of shooting themselves in the foot by shutting off the door to that even as an option. Because I think like trends are like kind of cyclical. And I think, you know, having the option for discs, like discs might be less popular today, but if they remained an option, maybe discs are more popular tomorrow. And maybe like people actually do start wanting to collect things again, and maybe there is a backlash against digital. And I already feel like people are increasingly like aware that when you are like all digital, you can lose access to your shit overnight. Like the amount of like DMs I've had from people who've been like, "Oh, I got banned on Xbox Live and I've lost access to my OneDrive, which means I've lost access to my documents and my photographs." Like people are increasingly cognizant of the fact that if we put all of our data in the hands of these big tech companies over which there's no real oversight into any of this shit. Sony pulled like hundreds of movies out of people's accounts recently because they lost licenses or whatever. So they just deleted those movies. Like to be fair play to Microsoft, like they stopped selling new movies on film and TV, but they've kept paying for the licenses for people for the ownership for the people that do own that shit. I'll be pissed off, man, if I lose access to my movies and TV on Xbox because I have a lot. I have quite a lot of stuff there, right? But more the fool me for like expecting that stuff to be there in perpetuity, right? People are increasingly like, I want to own this shit. We don't own anything when it's digital. And these big corporations are increasingly telling us that they will not guarantee perpetual ownership, right? So, you know, I've seen, bro, I don't know if you've seen this, Rand. I've seen an increasing amount of musical artists put put their albums out on cassette.
Well, yeah.
On cassette, bro. We're
I,
going back to cassettes, man.
well, I know people like look. There's the whole discussion of digital basically runs everything now, right? Like
Hmm.
streaming movies and TV shows, streaming Spotify songs, right? Uh like digital games
Mm,
and that sort of stuff, ebooks with like books and stuff, right? But yet
mm,
in all those cases, you can still buy Blu-rays of your movies and TV shows that you like. You can still
mm.
buy CDs and
That's true.
vinyls of, music that you like. It may not be in like every single store because I think Best Buy and some of these places got rid of their physical thing, but you can still buy them. You can still buy physical books. Like that still exists, even though like there's the digital equivalent. It just sort of seems like, gaming, it's like we're just going to give you the one option. Here's digital. There's no longer physical, even though like it's still a big market. We're not going to bother with it. And it's like, but all these other
Mm,
sort of, hobbies, I guess you would call them, they still offer the physical component, even if it's not as prevalent as the streaming or digital version of it. So you sort of lose that, like, and I know you mentioned like, oh, like people won't be affected. They may not be like affected in the sense of it'll be like behind the scenes. It'll be like, oh, maybe Xbox and PlayStation do less sales. So you're paying more for games because games don't go on sale as often. Maybe because of this, the game prices rise because they don't have to worry about, competing with their physical retailer counterparts. So it's like there might be things behind the scenes where then like you might not think like, well, I'm not losing anything now, but you might be like paying for it more later. I've seen people say like, "Oh well, you might lose your digital library." It's like, well, you can lose your digital library right now. Like nothing's like that. That argument, I don't necessarily. It's like that's an argument that's like existed since the beginning. It's like there's nothing stopping like Sony or any of them from removing your digital library today, right now, let alone 20 years in the future, sort of thing. And I think people realize that it's like you could potentially lose this stuff. And with physical, it's like, yeah, there's always the security blanket that, well, I can put it in the disc trade and it'll work, or I could sell it or what have you. I'm very curious. I'm waiting. I'm waiting for the next PlayStation tweet, Jez. I'm waiting for it. Like, I'll be scoping it out because I think that's going to tell you everything that you need to know. I think it's either going to be a retraction, or it's just going to be, hey, pre-order. Maybe Sony's on the phone right now with Rockstar, being like, drop the motherfucking trailer, please. Like, so on Monday we can just tweet out the trailer and everybody forgets about this stuff. You know what I mean? Um, but yeah, so that was nice talk there about the physical stuff. But I want to talk, Jez, because I see you did a Windows Central podcast yesterday about like the Xbox sort of layoffs, studio closures, potentially game cancellations. That's supposed to be happening next week, right? Monday the 6th is the kind of the rumored date, I
yeah,
guess.
it does seem
Um,
like it's all gonna go down on Monday.
So
Yeah.
what have you heard? Like, what was the stuff you were saying on Windows Central for people that the Windows Central podcast for people that didn't catch up? Like, what's the latest Jez Corden
So
information we got from for peeps?
there's even more stuff since yesterday. Like this kind of underscores how fast and how fast things are moving and how in flux things are. So first and foremost, Obsidian was never in talks to be shut down. I mean that was the kibosh was put on that pretty hard, but every studio is gonna have layoffs from
I
what I've
would
heard.
think they probably were. I think a lot of studios were in talks, but I don't know if they were like ever really, you know.
I mean, every studio has had a talking to about the fiscal realities of that's going on right now. But like they were never like we're gonna shut Obsidian down from what I know. Um, I think that was just like again I have no idea where that information came from, but that was never something I heard that Obsidian was in the firing line. Um, but there is going to be layoffs. I think every studio, Xbox, and not just every studio, but every department of Microsoft, like even Azure and the rest of it, like every department of Microsoft's going to have layoffs. I
Yeah, what
think
did they say?
Business
Like
Insider,
2.5%, right? I
yeah,
think it is.
Business Insider, yeah, Business Insider reported that they're looking at laying off 2.5%, which is about 5,000 people. So make no mistake, whatever happens next week, it's probably going to be brutal. But from what I've heard, I think Asher and the rest of the executive team, I don't know if Matt Boot is involved, but like they've been flying all over the world. And the idea is like they want to save these studios, right? And there's sort of been a mandate come down from on high where it's like this is the amount of money that we need to be saved for our next fiscal, and this is how we want you to achieve this, right? So they've had to look at like they've had to re-examine, look at everything, and like where are the opportunities. And I suppose like when you look at you have to be kind of mercenary when you are sort of doing this, and it's like, well, we've got franchises like Fallout. When there's a clear opportunity with a franchise like Fallout, how much opportunity is there with like, I don't know, a We Happy Few 2, for example, compared to Fallout or a Halo or a Gears or anything else? So like these are the kind of the decisions that I think they're having to make right now. And so I do think like, and I think I said this on the podcast and I said this before, I think what you're ultimately going to see is a combination of there's going to be layoffs, there's going to be studio closures, and there's going to be studios that kind of are sold off or merge with other Microsoft studios. There's going to be a variety of things that sort of pop off and coalesce in the way all this goes down. But the way that it's sort of been framed to me from like these are like really trusted sources is there is a huge effort to save the studios, not only the studios but also the projects. So anything that's announced, like if things go well, I'm kind of expecting right now that none of the games that have been announced will actually get cancelled. I hope that ends up being the case. So like whether it's State of Decay or Senua even or Blade, like I'm really hopeful that the effort that's going in to save these studios results in like either the studios get on, the game projects, like, whether it's I don't know which studios are going to end up acquired or go independent or whatever else. Like Jason Schreier was saying on Reset Era that, for example, that some studios could go independent, right? I expect like if I was going to bet, I would bet that studio like Double Fine, maybe they go independent like Toys for Bob did, like the really historic kind of studios. Um, I would expect maybe some of the studios will get acquired if there is like clear potential there. Like I don't know if Microsoft's going to keep Undead Labs or if they're going to sell them off to maybe a Krafton or something like that. From like there is like a huge 24/7 effort going in to saving these projects, I think, to meet Microsoft's demands basically. So I'm optimistic that the games that have been revealed will come out. I just don't know if they're going to be under Microsoft or if they're going to be under another third party or even independently. But it does seem like that's what the effort being made is right now. So I think really the key is here is because things are moving so fast and changing so much. I would be like, I'm just at this point where I'm just like, I'm going to wait and see because every day it seems like there's new information coming out. There's obviously misinformation coming out and the rest of it. And at this point, I'm just like, I'm just going to wait and see what happens because obviously things are moving very fast. There's a huge amount of effort going into saving these companies and these studios. And like you said earlier, like this is people's livelihoods, right? So that's kind of where I'm at with it. But I'm honestly optimistic that games like State of Decay will survive. I think Senna will come out. I even think Blade will come out. Jeff Grubb said the game's like approaching being finished and stuff. Like if that's true, then why cancel these games at the last hurdle? It doesn't make any sense.
Well, I think
But I
I
do
think
think
he
like
also mentioned like Blade might still come. Like they might need more time, and it'll be released like late next year. So I mean, I don't know,
yeah.
like one of those things, like you mentioned, if like the orders come from up high, and it's like you need to cut this much, they're gonna like look at it like, well, how much money does it cost to run Arcane versus like what do we expect to make from it versus Undead Labs, like it's like these things are in production. They aren't Fallout or Elder Scrolls or Halo or whatever, like our big IPs. So it's like an easy sort of just, because they look at it from Excel sheet, like money in, money out. Like, what are you doing for us right now? Like, it's just,
The
we could
problem
just,
is like there's just a fiscal reality here that back in the day when Microsoft acquired some of these teams, like there was fewer games being launched and there was less competition for attention, and because of how long things have taken to make and get out there, and disruption from COVID, um, which had a huge impact on some of the studios, bigger than others. It's kind of like we've got to a point now where the audience for those games, which might have existed at the point of acquisition, no longer exist, you know. And the opportunity that previously existed is either it doesn't exist anymore, it's severely diminished. And it's just the hard, painful truth of the situation that there isn't an audience as big enough for some of these sort of smaller kind of projects, and that the real opportunity exists within games that can become franchises and can sell merchandise and have TV shows and all the rest of it. Like, and that's why, like, I think that you have to look at the kind of games that the games that have TV shows coming are the ones that are probably the most safe, I think, right now. So, like, Grounded has a TV show coming. Wolfenstein has a TV show coming. There's rumors that there's two Warcraft TV shows coming based on an old leak, which became more relevant recently. I've heard there's a Diablo show coming. So obviously, like, not that Blizzard was ever in question, but like, obviously, those are the opportunities that exist, right? So there's a fiscal reality here that has to be addressed. But at the same time, Microsoft makes more money than God. So it's like you can't tell me that. You can't sit there and tell me that, like, oh, we've made all this profit and we're more profitable than ever and we've got more money than, the entire universe. And it's like, couldn't you, like, do a bit more here to nurture some of these studios, or to get them to that next level, or to improve efficiency? Because one of the reasons I've heard some of this stuff is happening is just as a result of Microsoft corporate inefficiency. And it's nothing to do with the studios. It's to do with, like, like how an indie studio can operate more rapidly and get things out more quickly. Microsoft has all these processes and all this stuff, which makes studios increasingly, like, unwieldy. Like, Microsoft has this pay grading system where it's like everyone has to be paid a certain amount, which sounds great on paper, but it increases the pressure on those studios to deliver. Like, if you're being paid AAA wages, you have to be able to deliver a AAA product kind of thing. And it's just like, it's not the mathematical reality of the situation. Now, some of those projects might be like, they could function on a sort of AA budget, or like indie wages, and they could have like a little business that's like really good on an individual kind of basis, right? But like under Microsoft, they got all these pay grading systems, so everyone has to be paid a certain amount, but they're not putting out projects that deliver a certain amount. So it makes it easy for someone like Amy to be like, well, we're paying this studio this much overhead and this is how much they're bought in. It puts an unfair expectation on studios, which obviously can't possibly deliver at that level, either because of either because of the amount of expertise that exists in the studio, or the budget, the geographical location of that studio, because it's expensive and you have to pay things there, and also things like every decision that's being made at these studios has to pass through like multiple layers of Microsoft bureaucracy. So whether it's HR, whether it's legal, all that stuff increases your overhead more so than it would a startup or an indie, right? So it's none of these studios' fault. They just got, like, chewed up by a sort of a very expensive, inefficient machine at a time where there was an opportunity that didn't remain prevalent enough for them to survive that inertia, I suppose. And it really sucks, and it's really, really shitty. But the layoffs are going to be brutal. I think, even though I'm optimistic that the projects will survive, I think it's like, it's still going to be a very difficult time, and Xbox is going to look very different from the end of next week. It's kind of where I'm at now. I'm just like, you just got to wait and see, and just ignore the noise, and
Yeah,
it's
no,
going to
'cause
be
it seemed
tough,
like
man.
every single day there was a new studio on the chopping blocks. Like, originally it was like, oh, Compulsion was one that was gonna go, and then I think people were like, oh, Double Fine and Hellblade. I think it was like Double Fine, Hellblade, and or Double Fine, Ninja Theory, and Compulsion were like the initial like three, like kind of right after the
I think
showcase,
where
right? And then it was
some of the confusion has arisen is because, like, people like, okay, well, these studios are in talks to be sold off, and I think because, like, other companies like EA or even Sony, like, when they're looking at this stuff, they don't try and sell those studios off. They just shut them down. Now, like, I think Microsoft doesn't have the you know, if we're being cynical, I don't think Microsoft has the sort of the reputation where they can get away with doing that, you know. And I'm sure like they are like thinking in a humanity and as individuals at Microsoft, I'm sure there is like we need to do this for the good of the individuals that are going to be impacted by our layoffs. But like at a sort of corporate spreadsheet kind of level, right? If we're thinking about it cynically, they don't have the good the goodwill built up in order to shut these studios down en masse like some of the other companies do. Like when Sony shuts studios down, I often see fanboys like turn around and give apologies and excuses for this stuff, right? Whereas like Microsoft, I think like the media is going to crucify them if they shut things down. Like
I
even
don't
if
know. I
it
mean,
wasn't
like
like
people were pretty harsh about Blue Point. I mean, Sony didn't tweet for 3 days after they shut down Blue Point. I mean,
I'm just speaking generally, right?
yeah.
People expect EA to shut things down, so on and so forth,
I
right?
mean, yeah, Ubisoft shut down a bunch of studios recently. I didn't really see much about that, but you know, I mean, I don't know. There's also like I do think there's some media outlets and media people that want Xbox to just go away, just go full third party, just give us your games, like just cancel your hardware, just don't exist. Like they're just done with them, right? Um,
Yeah, there is definitely like there is definitely that like Xbox tax where plenty of people in the media like they act neutral, but it's clear they just hate Microsoft and you know they have no interest for the individual employees that depend on Microsoft. Like I always see this thing where it's like, oh, Microsoft shut studios down, so Xbox should be killed. So
yeah,
hang on a sec. Your reaction to people losing their jobs is that you want even more people to lose their jobs. Make it make sense, bro. It doesn't make any sense to have that position unless you are sort of exposing your bias, and it's actually oh, actually you just hate Microsoft and you hate the fans and you hate the audience, and you know it's actually nothing to do with like what's right because what should be the take is Xbox should do better for its employees, all of their employees, you know. It shouldn't be the take that everyone there should deserves to lose their job. I think that's just irresponsible and maybe borderline sociopathic, I think.
yeah,
But anyways, um it's going to be a tough time, but there is like you know playing devil's advocate, there is an economic reality where the industry has shifted, the audience has shifted, the spending is down, the audience hasn't grown, the costs have gone up, studios haven't delivered in a way that they needed to deliver, and also they were mismanaged and they weren't told they needed to deliver at a certain level. You know, it was like, oh, Game Pass will get it, Call of Duty subsidies will get it, Candy Crush will get it, and it's like, well, Candy Crush and Call of Duty had a really bad year, and so did Game Pass. So now here comes the Reckoning Ball,
yeah.
and it's the
One
Reckoning
game
Ball
has
is
a
a
really
wrecking
bad
ball.
year, and it's like, oh fuck, we can't afford all this other shit now, which is kind of sad to think that's sort of the case there. But it
Yeah, it
definitely
really sucks.
seemed it was like every single day I'd wake up and it was like, well, Obsidian, and it's like, oh shit, and then it was like, actually not. It's like, oh, Arcane and Blade, and it's like, oh fuck, Arcane's one of my favorite studios. Like, and it's like, oh, finally, remember, because people were like, Xbox needs their MCU game or their Marvel game, and they finally get one, and it's like, actually, we're gonna shut down the studio and maybe sell the game, and it's like, god damn it, and I'm sitting there and be like, please, Ed, please, Machine Games, like, some of the studios that I like or whatever, it's just, and you're just like wondering, like, how's all this gonna play out? Like, how's like all these people gonna lose their job? How's that gonna affect them and then affect the company and all these sort of things? And it's just like, man, this like, and it's just never ending. It's like every week you hear about some studio somewhere that is like, oh, we're closing now, and it's like, god damn it, man, like it's just constant negative news with regards to a lot of this stuff, and it's like, fuck. Even to kind of circle back on like the disc thing and like with like some of the media stuff, but I don't know if you saw that take that this is Xbox's fault that PlayStation is getting rid of discs, right? I don't know if you saw that
Yeah, I did.
yeah, and it's like, yeah, okay, dude. I'm gonna take you seriously with your $150 PlayStation headset on, you know, because I'm sure you have some pretty non-biased takes about that, and it's also like,
I think it's really like it's Schrodinger's Xbox. Xbox is also dead, but
yes,
also Xbox is so powerful that they can influence Sony's decisions. Like,
Yes.
there's a lot of
Xbox
people show
dying.
their ass when things like this happen.
Xbox is dying, so that made Sony more comfortable getting rid of to redoing their whole like plant factory and all that sort of stuff. And it's just like it's like the common meme of like, damn, this is the Series S's fault again, right? It's like it can't just be like Sony actually wants to make more money and they feel that their consumers will take it. No, it's actually like if Xbox was competing, blah blah blah. And it's like, are you sure? Like even if Xbox was in a better spot, they'd probably just ride this out together and be like, hey, let's both not do physical. We'll both make more money. But I just find it funny that like you immediately go to like, oh man, this is Xbox fault for this, and it's like, all right, dude. Well, anything you sort of any sort of point you might make, I'm just gonna ignore because that's some you know that's some bullshit there. But hopefully,
Yeah.
I don't know. Like hopefully, I feel like hopefully some of the journos learn their lesson here. Because Jason Schreier's out here looking to body people. You're gonna put out some false information about this shit, and if he has actual correct information, he has no qualms about essentially snatching his fellow contemporaries, snatching their souls, right? Um, so just I don't know, like maybe like not say anything until Monday until we actually get. I would imagine like Asha and Matt Booty will put out like an internal memo detailing their plans or whatever, and like what's happening with all this sort of stuff because it's just like one day it's Obsidian, next day it's actually Arcane and Blade, the next day I saw today in gaming Reddit's leaks and it's like it's actually Rare's being closed. I don't know. I sent you that thing yesterday where it was like,
Oh yeah,
oh,
yeah.
Rare was gonna close, and then they decided to do Banjo, but then Asha played it and said Unreal slop and gave them a second
Oh
chance, and it's
Christ.
like, do people actually believe this fucking nonsense? You know
Like
what I mean?
that
Like,
that subreddit gaming leaks and rumors is so terrible. It's
of
so
course,
bad.
yeah,
Like the this kind of stuff the moderator is allowed to slide there is like, bro, like use your brain. Like this guy's an anonymous account posting random bullshit. Moderators don't try and verify anything. It's so funny, man. But I also saw a tweet that was like, "Oh, security showed up at Rare HQ to stop interviews, to stop employees getting in." I'm sitting there thinking, bro, that's not how layoffs work in the United Kingdom. You have to do like a whole consultation with the government. You can't just like hire and fire like you can in America. It's not how it works. So I know we've got Sea of Thieves movie coming out. You seriously think they're going to shut down Rare now? I don't think so.
I mean, I'm just saying, Rare probably have layoffs for sure, but you know,
I think there is every studio is going to be hit, every single studio. I
what
expect,
was
but
when was
um,
some of the stuff you were talking about Halo? Because you also mentioned Halo, and I saw some of your tweets, like Halo Studios and like resources and stuff. Like, what's up with that?
so like one of the the big projects I suppose for Asher and those guys moving forward, and this is from like over here in discussions at Summer Game Fest really. Um, and also Asher's been pretty transparent about it. So they want to invest in Halo. Because Halo's one of those sort of franchises which has that potential and already does deliver like merch and they had a TV show and it wasn't very good but the potential is clearly there if they get the right project, the right showrunners and the rest of it. And I think like one of the things they're increasingly looking at is like um the team that did the Fallout the team that does the Fallout TV show, like it does seem increasingly like they are interested in not just working on Fallout, but like other Xbox franchises as well. And I think there is sort of thought process here. It's like, well, what if we get these guys to do like a Halo show that's actually good, and and the rest of it, right? Because I think they're also doing the Wolfenstein TV show, if I remember correctly. So clearly they think like Halo is like one of the opportunities there, but it needs the game to match it, right? And I think one of the problems is they've got with Halo Studios is like a structural kind of problem. Like we've talked before about like some of the contracting laws that exist in Washington State, whether it's like engine issues and expertise issues and studio culture issues, and we've heard all sorts of rumors and hearsay about Halo Studios, and the fan base is it feels like it just genuinely feels like Halo's been one of the most mismanaged franchises in history. You know, all that potential squandered, right? So this is kind of like one of the big things they want to try and fix. And you know, it's not hardly a revelation. I mean, Ash has said it herself. So it's not like I'm sitting here pretending to be, oh, I've got super duper insider knowledge here. Ash has been like super transparent about Halo being in the crosshairs as something that she wants to fix. And you know, like from what I've heard, it's like some of these cuts, because Microsoft said to, I think they said to Bloomberg, they said they're not reducing how much they're investing in games and studios, but they are having cuts, and some of it is about reallocating resources. And one of the things they're going to allocate resources into is Halo. So what that looks like really does remain to be seen. I heard a crazy rumor that they might put Halo under Activision, which I don't, for what it's worth, I don't necessarily believe that right now. But like, if it does happen, you heard it here first. But like, this is the kind of thing that they're kind of look at, like how do we structure Halo so it can actually start delivering on the level of potential that it actually has? Because up to now, I would argue that it pretty much hasn't, man. So, but they are looking at the way Activision does things a lot. They're looking at the way Blizzard does things a lot, because Halo could function like a Blizzard franchise, and BlizzCon is going to be very interesting. So BlizzCon's dropping in September. I can't remember the exact date, but BlizzCon's in September, in early September, if I remember correctly, just after Gamescom. And you're going to see a lot of what I think Xbox's overarching strategy is going to be for Halo. You'll see that emerge at BlizzCon with the way Blizzard's handling some of their other franchises, I think. So like there's a lot of rumors right now about Warcraft spin-offs, and there's rumors about StarCraft shooter, which obviously StarCraft was an RTS originally. So could we start seeing Halo spin-offs more like we had in the past? Could we see Halo go to external studios? Could we see a Halo from id Software, for example? I think all these things are like things to look out for in the future, but nothing concrete from me. But this is something they're really thinking hard about right now.
Interesting. Very, very interesting. Let me get some of the super chats here. See if there's what people are saying. We have Christopher says, even if Xbox wanted to change their plans regarding physical, wouldn't publishers push back on it? More profit and Xbox is even more digital leaning. I'd be curious to see how publishers feel about this. I did see a couple devs come out strongly against this, saying that this makes them not want to publish their games on PlayStation. I'd be curious to see how EA feels, or how Take-Two feels, or how like the big pubs, are they all okay with all this? Maybe they
They don't
are, and
want they don't want secondhand games, bro.
yeah, but is the secondhand market really that much of a thing anymore? Like GameStop's declined significantly since the 360 and the PS3 days. So I mean, essentially, Sony doing this also kind of kills GameStop, right? Kind of kills GameStop, kind of kills GameFly. A lot of these. Did I sent you? Did I sent you the Play Asia tweet, right? The when
Yeah.
Xbox does this
Oh
versus
my
when
god, that is so
PlayStation does
funny.
this.
Yeah, yeah, it's
Like a
crazy.
lot of the, I mean, some of these companies are in legit trouble if Sony doesn't reverse course, because it's like, well, because isn't the whole thing with it is PlayStation prints all the discs themselves, just like Microsoft does. Like if you want a disc on PlayStation, you have to go through PlayStation. If you want a disc on from Microsoft for the Xbox, you got to go through Microsoft. They're the ones who prints it. So if PlayStation's saying we're done, that means there's no more discs. So like you can't just be like EA's not just like, well, we can print our own. Like no, that's it and it's over. So anybody like selling that stuff or makes like the retro shops or what have you, that means like, well, yeah. I did see it's like, oh man, if you wanted to be a hater moving forward, just say, man, I hope the the anticipated game you're looking forward to gets delayed past 2028, so it doesn't get a physical disc. Like which I don't know, sort of funny. Um, so yeah. Strubdog says, I'm a buyer of a lot of physical media, movies, and TV shows. These products are made by multiple studios and boutique studios, i.e., Criterion and Arrow. Games are published by one company. This is a problem. Okay. We got Chris who says physical media may be a good investment for Xbox. Forbes released an article a couple weeks ago titled "Why Gen Z is Bringing Back Physical Media." That is true. I have heard that. Like Gen Z's moving more towards physical than maybe like previous generations or whatever.
Yeah, like my nephew who's turning 18, he wanted a film-based camera for his birthday. Film-based, with the film,
Yeah, yeah,
with
yeah,
actual film.
yeah.
Do you remember them?
Of course, I remember. Yes.
So that's what he wanted for his birthday. It was a film-based camera. So retro is big right now.
What's old is new again.
Yep.
We have Pat Rock says if Xbox were to take your movies, Greg Miller would tell Satya to eat a bag of shit. When it's PlayStation, he doesn't even acknowledge it, Bird Box style. Greg getting a little heat
Who was
here.
that?
Greg Miller.
Greg Miller just doesn't like Xbox, I think. That's just the long and short of it.
Yeah. Jonas Sadad became the newest member of the channel. Thank you. Enjoy the emails and everything. He says, could Xbox do attachable disk drive for Helix? Easy W. I mean, I think they could. Absolutely. I think they could have an attachable disk drive because you could even mark that shit up. Like, I know a disk drive doesn't cost that much, but you could easily be like, hey, you want this disk drive? It's $200, and make like super amount of profit on it, or what have you. We'll see if they do though. Mr. Infinite Umbra says, stay cool and don't use ketchup on hot dogs. It is hot out here. It is currently, on this Friday, July 3rd, 89 degrees here. It's pretty hot. It's supposed to be a high of 93 today. And then tomorrow's an 80, 87, then 83, 83, 85, 88, 87, 81, 82, 88. There's some hots. It's supposed to rain tomorrow and Sunday and Monday, so a lot of rain. I saw something that like Illinois had over like 100 tornadoes already this year, more than any other state, which is kind of nuts. But we've had a very rainy, thunderstormy summer. Like more, it's been, I don't remember like any like this before. Like the storms have been really bad.
Dude, we had a lightning storm here. It's like nothing I've ever seen in Europe. It's like a tropical kind of monsoon thunderstorm for 4 hours, constant lightning every 2 seconds for 4 hours. No rain, just lightning. I've never seen anything like it. I've never seen anything like it. It was crazy. I got a video of it on I'll put it on Twitter later. It was the craziest thing I've ever seen. Just lightning nonstop for hours. It looked amazing, but it was also like, that isn't normal. And also like there was a tornado in South Germany as well. That isn't normal. So yeah, the weather's been crazy, bro.
Sure has.
Crazy.
We have a lot of Patreon questions, so we're gonna move over to our Patreon stuff here now. I feel like we've talked about everything important at length. So if you enjoyed the show, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, give us a nice review on iTunes or Spotify. 5 stars. Check out our sponsor, surfshark.com/XB2 for 86% off 2-year deal. And if you want to support us directly, patreon.com/XB2. Drop us a question. Exclusive podcast when we do them.
Next week. We're gonna do one next week.
Hopefully. But yeah, let's see what the Patrons are saying here. I can imagine I know what it's mostly going to be about because it's a big topic. Let me bring this up. We have I am Chuck Dub. It says, with all the noise online, where has the communication from Xbox leadership been? Matthew Ball previously stated that they would be more open, but lately they've been stonewalling us. Huh. Yeah, they've been incredibly quiet since Showcase, have they not, Jez? I wonder why.
Sorry, say that again?
Well, the question was, how come Xbox leadership, like Matthew Ball, has been incredibly silent when they previously said they'd be more open. Like, and I said, yeah, Asha hasn't tweeted since the showcase, and I wonder why. You know,
I
um,
think for one thing is they're extremely busy. Like I say, I've heard they're flying all over the world to try and cut deals to save the studios. But I also think like it's just kind of inappropriate, isn't it, to be upbeat on social media when you're about to destroy people's jobs, probably to the tune of hundreds, maybe thousands of people.
yeah,
Yeah, I don't know. It's
pretty
going to be a
much,
tough time.
pretty much. We got Nitrim. It says, "Hey, Jez and Rand, did you see Laura Fryer's recent YouTube video? Why Xbox studios keep failing? The Freedom Trap." Her overall message seems very sympathetic towards Asha's reset, and that it unfortunately is absolutely necessary for Xbox. What do you think? No, I didn't watch her video, so I'm not sure what was
Yeah, I
said in it.
mean, to be fair, like Laura Fry hasn't been at Xbox for a hot minute, so I would take what she says like as opinion with a grain of salt, to be honest. But I didn't see the video personally, but I think there is something to be said here where it's like, I mean, it's pretty obvious, and this is something we've been saying on the show, like I think Rand, you've been pretty consistent. Like you didn't know why Microsoft bought Compulsion. I think you've been consistent about that from the beginning. And like I was kind of like trying to be optimistic about it to some degree. But I think deep down, I know you were right that like, you know, they after playing We Happy Few like was the strangest kind of game. And it was just like, who is this for exactly? And I think when you're looking at games like Hellblade 2, it's kind of like, okay, this is clearly a high budget game. Like they flew to, they laser scanned Iceland for God's sake. But what is the addressable audience? What is the addressable audience for a game like this? It can't be that big. And evidently it wasn't that big, you know? So like I said, there's a reality here that Xbox should have done more to push these studios to make games people actually want to play. And as high quality as Hellblade was, it was in a genre that nobody really cares about. And as high quality as South of Midnight was, like they didn't market it well enough or something, I don't know. Or it launched at the wrong time. But some of these games like probably just shouldn't have been made under Microsoft's purview. Like these are games that maybe should have been indie games or, something else like that. Like how did Redfall not get cancelled? How did Redfall not get cancelled? I think sometimes you have to just be like, the reputational damage that's going to come as part of releasing this probably isn't worth it.
I would imagine they didn't
I
want
don't
to.
know.
I would imagine they liked the idea of another game, and they didn't want to like one of the first things they do is basically come into Bethesda and be like, cancel that game, right?
Mm.
Because you kind of start off on the wrong foot. Now, like Hellblade, maybe like I've seen, and maybe this doesn't apply to games because it certainly doesn't apply to something like Grand Theft Auto, but I saw a report, like Avatar: The Last Airbender season 2 just at Netflix, right? And
Mm.
first week views were like 8 million, but like season 1 views 2 years ago were 25 million for the first week. So it saw like
For what, sorry?
what?
For what, sorry?
So for Avatar Airbender, like the live action series.
Oh, I didn't even know that was the thing.
Yeah, so like
I thought you
and,
were
and
talking about the movie.
no, this also happened for One Piece and as well as like Wednesday and like Stranger Things or whatever, where season 1 super high. Like I said, most recently for Avatar was like 22 million views for the first week. And then there's a 2-year gap and season two's numbers are like 8 million. So there's this like massive drop off in viewership. And people talk about like it's because people lose interest in the wait. Like you're waiting 2 years for this, you just don't care. Or maybe you forget what happened in season 1 and you don't want to rewatch it to catch up on season 2 and it's just you just don't care about it anymore. And I sort of wonder specifically with Hellblade where like Hellblade 1 came out in 2017. The sequel came out in 2024. Did people just not care anymore? Like, did they was like the time in between games just too long, where it was just like, it missed its
Was it
window. You know what I mean?
was it Shinji Mikami who said like if you can get everything out of the game by watching on YouTube, then you haven't made a good enough game. That is Hellblade to a T.
I mean, potentially.
Like why play Hellblade or just watch it on YouTube at 1.5% speed? It's just it was the wrong game. It should never have been greenlit. You should not greenlight a game like that without any kind of interactivity.
Well, but if the
Like
whole
it was a
thing,
mistake.
if the whole thing under Matt and Phil was make the game that you want, creative freedom. We're just here to like, hey, if you need extra time or money, we'll do that. Game Pass will be solve all of our problems, and like that's the game they want to make. Then that's the game they made. I mean, who do you blame in that regard? Do you blame Phil? Do you blame Matt for not pushing for them to make more? Like, you
And
know,
you got to blame Matt. I think you got to blame Matt.
Double Fine, like it's like why didn't they immediately go to make Psychonauts 3? Instead, they went to make a lighthouse walking sim and a pottery brawler. And it's probably because like Xbox is like, we just need games for Game Pass. You have creative freedom, do what you want. But at some point, you also got to think about what does the audience want and what has the most like commercial potential, you know? And it's like, okay, well, we made like, hey, we made Hellblade. We made the game that we want. We wanted to blur the line between what's possible between movies and games, and you ended up in a thing that wasn't that long, and you know, depending on who you talk to, wasn't really any better than the first game, or had the lack of combat or lack like gameplay. It was just mostly a movie. And it's like, oh, did we misjudge what our players wanted? You know, did we wait too long? Like I said, there were 7 years in between games. Now, something like that doesn't matter for Grand Theft Auto, clearly, but maybe that some of that stuff matters for the smaller games, where, you know, if you're not that really, you know, hyped up, like, you know, there was some time in between Hollow Knight and Hollow Knight Silksong, but you know, I sort of feel like there was always the hype around Hollow Knight that every single year it was like, well, there's gonna be Silksong, oh my god, and obviously Hollow Knight was much more well received than Hellblade was, and I don't know, maybe that doesn't matter in the video game stuff, but I think it certainly matters in the TV space, where it's like, and maybe even the movies, where you need to strike while the iron's hot, and that's why I've always been on them with the Fallout shit. Like, Fallout's hot right now. Like, we have 2 seasons of the Fallout TV show, and like, it's the second biggest thing ever. It's not always going to remain as big as it is now. Where the fuck are the Fallout games? How are you not like? How are you not capitalizing on this outside of updates for Fallout 76?
Yeah,
Where
it's wild,
are
man.
these games? You know? And maybe it's just like, well, you know, Todd was busy with Starfield, and we didn't want to like kind of come in there and tell him what to do, because like doesn't want people playing in his, you know, in his like playground or whatever. But it's like, okay, well, you better learn from that, because like if there's a Diablo show coming, if there is one coming, whenever it would come, there better goddamn well be like a Diablo 5 coming on its heels. If there's a Wolfenstein TV show, which we know there is, like, Wolfenstein 3 better be releasing around it. You know, like, Gears Z Day is coming this year. And they're still talking about the Gears movie and the Gears anime. Who knows when those are even going to hit. And by the time they do, you know, maybe there's a shorter time in between Gears Z Day and whatever they do next. I don't know, but it definitely will be shorter than Fallout. That's why I'm just like, well, I don't know. I still think of like, where the hell are the Fallout games, Matt? Like, how are you not taking advantage of this situation? But anyways,
Yeah, it's wild, man.
moving on to the next question we have here.
Joaquin Phoenix in chat says he wants Wolfenstein Youngblood 2.
Nobody wants Wolfenstein Youngblood 2. And nobody should
Joaquin
take
wants
any.
it.
Yeah, Joaquin, all he does is play Fortnite. His opinions don't matter. Chris M says, hey guys, Jez, can you give any insight into what could have caused Sony to announce the end of physical discs at this time? It's not for another 18 months. Xbox was getting crushed this week, and GTA pre-orders just started. What logical reason could they have to make such a damaging announcement now versus waiting until later this year? Because I don't buy that it was just the right thing to do. They don't work that way. Well, I think you
Nah,
said that you think it was the contracts and like the plant and
yeah.
stuff. Like shit was probably going to leak at some point, and they had to get out in front of it.
Yeah, like a lot. Oftentimes, when you see these companies making decisions, it's based on like things that are going to happen in the future. It's because things take a while. Things take a while to come together, which is why, like, I was kind of laughing when Chris String put out there that Xbox rushed out their price increase to take advantage of Apple announcing their price increase. It's like, no, that's not how this shit works. Like, it takes a hot minute to plan all this stuff out. So I think the reason it was announced now is because companies are buying their stock, they're deciding whether to even do print runs, and like GTA clearly had advanced knowledge of this. So it's like, well, if GTA, this it's gonna leak. It's gonna leak because we're putting the infrastructure in place to make this transition now. So it's gonna leak. It's absolutely gonna leak. So I think that's why they just did it now, because it was inevitable that it was going to get out. Like you get the canceling discs affects a lot of people, a lot of parties, and it's negative news for a lot of these parties. Whether it's a company that profits from selling discs, like some of these smaller companies that sell physical media, still all the big retailers or whatever. It's negative news. So it's like, rather than let it leak and let misinformation fester and all that kind of thing, they were just like, well, it's better to bite the bullet and just come out with it ourselves. I think that's kind of I think it's kind of where it comes from. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see if they do stick with it, like Rand said. Like, what is the next tweet from Sony? If the next tweet is a retraction, then GG. If the next tweet is something unrelated, then it seems like they're just going to go ahead with it. Maybe the next tweet is a Grand Theft Auto trailer, like Rand said,
I'm saying, and
to
maybe they're on the phone with
cover it all up.
Rockstar, being like, "Hey, we'll throw you an extra couple cool 100 mil to the marketing deal if you could fucking drop this trailer now, boy. We need it. Take the heat off us, please."
Take the heat off, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's cooked, bro.
Wouldn't that be hilarious if that's actually what happened on Monday? Like if they dropped the trailer
Yeah.
and that's oh man, that'd be hilarious. We got Derlin, who says, "Hey, Jez and Rand. Last week you discussed whether they should delay Helix and uh, delay Helix and how expensive it's going to be. But I'm curious if it's really going to be that much more expensive than current consoles. RAM and SSDs are driving up prices, but I can't imagine Helix will have much more than the 16 gigs that the Series X has, or more than the 1 terabyte of storage. New GPUs might be more expensive, that they be able to place large orders or current chips, and the older GPUs might be made in much smaller batches, so the cost might be approximately the same. The backwards compatible chip will certainly add some cost, but it probably won't be huge. We're used to cost jumps in previous generations and the older generations getting cheaper, but we're also used to a bigger delta in performance, and I just don't think we're likely to see massive jumps this time around. Do you think this might be driving the decision making of when to launch Helix? Potentially.
Oh,
Uh, I don't know. There's a lot of like, I saw Kepler said that the current like BOM for the PS6 is like $980 or something.
jeez.
And that's like
Yeah,
right
I don't
now.
know.
Like what is it going to be next year if the cost of components keeps on rising? And like Sony already said, they're not going to heavily subsidize the PS6. So if the BOM gets to like $1,100, how much is Sony willing to eat? Like, because like, let's just say, like, if by the time the PS6 comes out, whether that's next year or 2028, let's just say, I don't know, let's just say, just for math's sake or whatever, uh, the BOM gets up to $1,200, probably unrealistic. But then they say, okay, well, we'll sell it for 800, so we'll eat $400. But the thing is, like, you sell 10 million consoles of that, or 10 million of those things, and you're losing $400 on each one. That's like a $4 billion loss there, and that's only if you sell 10 million. So like, the more it costs, and the more you're willing to eat, like the more money you lose. So it's kind of sitting there, like, and like when Kepler talks about that stuff, I tend to believe him. So I'm like, if the PlayStation 6 costs $1,100 to make, realistically, how much can you expect Sony to eat? You know, like, are we really
Yeah.
looking at like $1,000 PS6 simply because it cost them 1,100 to make? And like, if they sell and you sell millions of these things, you're also losing billions of dollars. I don't know. And the same could be said for Helix. Like, I don't know what the cost is going to be. Jez, you sort of mentioned, I think you had an article being like, what does Matthew Ball mean by this stuff? And you, or maybe it was somebody else, but it was like, could they sell
Yeah.
Helix
No, it
without?
was me.
Yeah, could you sell Helix uh without the storage, where people could bring their own storage from the series, like the Series X, so you save on that,
Yeah,
or all
I've got
those.
I've got an old NVMe lying around. Like, what if I could just slot that in and save however many dollars on the box, right? It's it's a tough situation to be in, you know, with regards to all the pricing and stuff. Like, what interests me is like if um if the price of the RAM and whatever comes down, will they actually lower the prices of the boxes or just like do these sales events, right? It's it's really annoying. Like the the people we really should be mad at though is the AI companies.
Microsoft.
We really should be mad at them. Yeah, well, yeah, Microsoft, OpenAI, Google, Amazon, Oracle to a lesser degree, I suppose. But like it really is Sam Altman, because I think Sam Altman put in like I think he put in a purchase order for 50% of all of the RAM that SK Hynix was going to make, like a commitment or something. And that alone, just that commitment, even though he's not going to follow through on it, just that commitment alone put the price up of all RAM in the world, because like the demand really outstripped supply when he's like, oh yeah, I commit to buy half of all of your RAM output until 2030. That completely overnight fucked the entire market. Just that little piece of paper saying I commit to buy, even if he doesn't buy it. So, you know, as a Microsoft to blame, sure, but on an individual basis, Sam Altman is the number one person that should be blamed for all of this. He is a liar and a scam artist. He commits to buying things that he's got no intention of buying, and because of all the hype around him right now and all the money and investment that's being thrown at him by these companies, um, people believe him because they're hopeful that they're going to make some return on their investment, but they ain't going to make any return. Michael Berry just started shorting all the companies that are involved in AI because he's expecting the bubble to burst any minute now. It's Sam Altman's fault, man. You don't hate Sam Altman enough. You think you do, but you don't.
Mm. Mm, mm, mm. Let's see. We have Silas. Happy holiday weekend, Rand. What books? What's the book you have reread the most? Jez, not to leave you out. What's the video game instruction manual or hint guide you have reread the most?
Oh man. Well, I actually can say like a book that I've reread the most. And it's hang on a sec, I'm gonna look it up. I can't remember the name of it. Piano Lessons on Murder. Have you read that book?
No, I have not.
Piano
I've
Lessons Can Be Murder by R.L. Stein, Goosebumps. It's a Goosebumps. And it's about a boy who has piano lessons, and the person who runs the piano lesson school is a psychotic evil scientist kind of guy or something.
yeah.
I've read that book about 10 times.
Mine would be The Wheel of Time. I've reread The Wheel of Time, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 times probably since I started reading it for the first time in like '97. Like, I would reread the whole series like when a new book would come out. So yeah, that'd be the one I reread the most. Um,
What game have you replayed the most?
like single player?
Yeah.
Because I mean, to say like I played Halo 3 forever for a whole year.
Yeah, multiplayer don't count because you constantly replay them.
I mean, there are some games I replayed because they. What are we talking here? Like, are we talking like, because I was
single player game.
into achievements, so it's like beat this game on this difficulty, beat this game on hard. So that's counts as like two playthroughs.
But,
or
no, let's count games that you replayed for leisure. Not games you replayed for achievements.
Then none. I've never played a game for leisure. Then I replayed a game for leisure.
Oh, really? Oh,
Like
okay.
I played like Metro 2033, Metro Last Light, and then I played them again on the Xbox One to get the achievements again. Does that
Okay.
count?
So not for pleasure then.
Well, I mean, it was pleasurable playing them again. They're good games, and I get the achievements and the stuff again.
Yeah, but you were motivated by achievements. It doesn't count. Like for me, I for example, I haven't 100%ed Dragon Age Origins, but I've replayed it about 10 times. I haven't 100%ed Final Fantasy 7, but I've
I
replayed
would
it
say
about 10 times.
like Mass Effect. I mean, I remember I played through the initial Mass Effect like I think 3 or 4 times because you had to beat it with each character. And then I played it again when it got remastered or whatever. But I guess you would say that doesn't count because whatever your stupid rules.
Mm.
Let's see. Moving on here, we have Pat Rock says, "What if the next gen Xbox can be subsidized as well as sold at a profit while attaining the PC stores aspect? Wasn't the idea of it being subsidized means it's not being sold at a profit because you're subsidizing it? But I don't know.
Well, this is one of the things my article was talking about. Is like if you've got an open device, you can't subsidize it because what if you sell like a million units and a million of those people don't even use your ecosystem? What if they either play free-to-play games? What if they buy those free-to-play games on an external store? Or what if they only use Steam? If they buy an Xbox and only use Steam, you are giving away hundreds of dollars. And if you're selling millions of units, giving away hundreds of dollars, then you're losing hundreds of millions of dollars. So for me, it was like, if the idea is to keep costs down, the box either needs to be closed or they need to do some kind of revenue share deal. Steam obviously won't do a revenue share deal. So is it going to be that Epic Games and GOG or something does some kind of revenue share deal? And Microsoft's like, yeah, you can be on the Xbox, but you've got to enter in some kind of revenue share deal with us because otherwise, like, we've got to sell this at a premium, and we kind of can't sell it at a premium because nobody's got any money anymore. So, or I was saying like maybe they could do something where it's like you have to pay for a paywall to get access to open it up. But then I was thinking like if they do that, that's going to be clunky and people will be annoyed about it. Or I was thinking like maybe they do something where it's like it's closed, but you can install Windows on it, and then you have to bring your own Windows license, which costs $100. So, or whatever it is these days. So I was kind of thinking like, yeah, I don't know. I think something will change with regards to the way how open the next Xbox is, because I think previously when RAM was cheaper, when they spec'd that out and made those decisions, they were like, okay, well, we could sell these in like maybe a $50 profit each or a $100 profit each or whatever, but we're not in that universe anymore. There's not going to be any profit on this box. There's not going to be a shred of profit on this box without somehow making it more expensive and making it so nobody can afford to buy it. So if there's not going to be a profit on the box, it has to be closed in some way. So,
Oh yeah. Well,
but Asher was always like Asher was still talking about bringing PC stuff. So I don't know.
Pat Rock says the cost of the build is $900. Xbox sells it for $799, and a traditional console, but just like the developer mode, you can pay say $200, and it unlocks the PC
Ah,
aspect
right.
of the device. It's a win for people who just want an Xbox, and also a win for people who want a decently priced, powerful machine. Or hilariously, even better yet, you can only access your PC storefronts and titles with a Game Pass or Live subscription. That's how you're able to keep
Well,
paid online tied to a PC device. And for those that don't want to do that, they can just buy a traditional PC.
I think that's probably like that's the way I would do it, right? But I do think like they're kind of walking into a trap there with the media where it's like, oh, Microsoft's locked the openness beyond a paywall. Like, even though it's like, so what do you expect them to do? Give away the device for negative money? Because that's kind of what you're expecting them to do here, personally. I think like if there is going to be a virtuous business model here where it's like, we're going to actually make some kind of profit on this, because in order for people to keep their jobs, there has to be profit. And Satya's out there talking about, oh, we can't subsidize gaming anymore. It's got to be self-sufficient or whatever. Whatever, Satya, with your $100 million annual pay package or whatever. But it's the fiscal reality of it, that there has to be some kind of profitability factor here. And I think if like you are selling a box at a loss and everyone goes to Steam, then you've got a huge issue. So I think Pat Rock's thing of like some kind of like, yeah, it's you can put Windows on it, but you've got to bring your own license. And then like you can buy Windows 11 licenses like pretty cheap. Like how much is a Windows 11 license? So like if you buy it from the Microsoft store, it's pretty expensive. But like I've just found a website that's selling official Windows 11 Pro licenses for €15. Like, so like even that's like maybe Microsoft won't do that because again, it's like are they actually going to make any money? Because Windows 11 licenses are cheap as hell. I didn't even know they were this cheap. Like Jesus Christ, how is Microsoft making any money on Windows if you can get it this cheap? I mean, I suppose they could make it so like you have to buy it through Microsoft. So Windows 11 Home through Microsoft is $140. So maybe if it's like you have to like buy it through there. A Parrot says, I don't think Jez understood what I was saying. Oh, okay. Well, let me just pull up your question here so I can just double check. But I do think there has to be some kind of profitability factor with regards to this. Like you can't just like sell a box at a loss and expect people to, expect to have a virtuous business there. I'm just trying to find your question here, Patrick, so I can understand it. What if the next gen X was subsidized, sold as profit? Well, so the bill is cost balance. I mean, that is yeah. I mean, the whole unlocking on the console. I mean, I suppose so. But I was kind of my thing was like if they say bring your own Windows license, which is kind of like what you're saying, like pay $200 to paywall the developer stuff. I think like Microsoft enters a PR problem then. But I think like if they say like buy your own Windows license to turn it into a PC, then it kind of ties into like the way PCs actually work. And the way PCs work is like, yeah, the cost of the Windows license is factored in there. So I think having a paywall on the device is kind of like I think that'll be hard to
See,
market and explain.
I've
But I
thought
think bringing the Windows license, I
I thought
think
the
that's
same
probably a better way
thing
of doing it.
about like the idea of like, oh well, if you wanted to use the other storefronts on the device, you have to be subscribed to Game Pass Ultimate. It could be a perk for Game Pass Ultimate, where it was like, you know, access what but
But I think anything that's going to be perceived as a paywall is going to be
sure.
something that's going to be like
No,
attackable.
absolutely, dude. Absolutely, it would be 100%. But it was an idea. I don't necessarily know about like a $200 fee because I think like developer mode on the Series S and X is what $20, and people were like, "Oh, $20, not that big of a deal because I get all these extra features." $200 is a lot of money, right? Um,
Yeah.
I don't know.
But maybe it's like I think $200 like would cover the subsidy, sure. But I think at the same time it opens them up to being attacked by the media. So my thing's like if you want to turn it into a PC, then you have to put a PC operating system on it, which is Windows, I suppose. But then people say like, well, why can't I put Linux or Steam OS on it? And then you end up in another conundrum. It's a problem, man, because it's like they can't subsidize this device and have it open. So if it's not going to be subsidized, you're looking at $1,400, maybe, and then nobody's going to buy it because it's $1,400. And you might as well just start like looking into the PC ecosystem then, buy a secondhand PC or something.
Right.
I think the whole notion of it being open doesn't work in our current economic situation, but I don't know, man.
All right. Next question we have here from Jimmy. Hey, Justin Rand, these are hard times for Xbox and for the gaming industry. Sasha said that Xbox will focus on the biggest IPs, and I think Warcraft should be one of them. What do you think about the latest leaks on Blizzard's plans until 2030? There's a new RTS, Warcraft Chronicles, planned for 2028. Is it true? And speaking about Age of Empires, it seems that World's Edge and Forgotten Empires, the studio behind the latest definitive editions and Age of Mythology Retold, are actively hiring for Unreal Engine 5 experts. So could we suppose a new Age of Empires under development? What could you share about it? Sorry for the long questions. I hope you answer. Cheers, my friends. You're fantastic. I don't know shit about World's Edge. I would imagine there's another Age of Empires in development. Probably, if that's assuming the studio doesn't get also shut down. But Age of Empires does seem to be pretty profitable, so I would imagine it would stay. Jez, you're all about the Warcraft stuff and the Blizzard shit, so I guess that question's for you. What do you think about whatever this Blizzard leaks are? I don't know.
Yeah. So like what this revolves around is uh there was an old leak a few years ago where it was like I don't remember what you call these, but it was like it was like a timeline showing like the projects that Blizzard had upcoming. And the leaks were like from years ago. And I think people mostly ignored it. But the thing is, one of the code names in that leak was actually found on Blizzard servers recently, which kind of added credence to the leak. So what the leak said was that there was going to be, you know, a Warcraft RTS. There's also this thing called Camelot, which is supposedly like Warcraft Classic Plus, which is like a retro version of Warcraft that's got new features, which is like what people have been asking for a long time. Warcraft Chronicles RTS, in addition to an anime series, and then an Arthas action RPG with a live action series. So these are like, and then also a mobile version and an arcade version, which both have to be determined on it. So this was an old leak, and it might like be like either fake or maybe Blizzard used the code name for fun to troll people, or you know, the information's outdated now because I think this was back from 2024 maybe or something like that. So maybe the information is just really outdated and some of these projects got cancelled. But I do think like Warcraft is absolutely one of these worlds which is ripe for expansion, like whether it's Halo, whether it's Warcraft, Starcraft, Diablo, like even Pillars of Eternity, for God's sake. Like these are like worlds that have fan bases that Microsoft could build upon with the right strategy and the right amount of drive and investment behind them. So for me, like I would hope that Warcraft Chronicles RTS is real. Clearly, like Age of Empires has continued to do very, very well under Forgotten Empires and World's Edge. And for what it's worth, I haven't heard World's Edge is going to be closed or anything like that. And in fact, I've heard that World's Edge is potentially a model they're looking at, because the way World's Edge works is World's Edge is like the IP holder for Age of Empires, and it's also like the consulting and producing arm. And then Forgotten Empires is like outsourced, and they're part of, is it Keystone? I think Keystone Studios, which is like an outsourcing company. So they make Age of Empires 4, and they are hiring. So it's kind of like that might be the business model that they're looking at for Halo and other kinds of stuff. So does Blizzard have its own RTS team? I don't think they do. So like maybe if Blizzard is making a Warcraft RTS, maybe they are outsourcing it. And I do think like these spin-offs and is probably something that they're going to spin up and do more of, like Minecraft Dungeons 2, for God's sake. You know, Minecraft Legends and Minecraft Earth were complete flops, but Minecraft Dungeons did pretty well. Avowed's in the Pillars of Eternity universe, like, you know, Cameron in chat says, of course it is. And Pillars of Eternity has been getting updates again, like the original game. I think they're adding turn-based mode, which is currently in preview. So I think that's where they're going to do a lot of their investments. And I really hope the Warcraft leaks are true, because an Arthas action RPG sounds absolutely fantastic to me. Like that's the Arthur storyline's the best storyline in Warcraft history. So if you're gonna make a cinematic game, a cinematic action game out of anything in Warcraft, it would be that story arc.
Hmm.
That would be fantastic. I hope it's true.
Sick and Tired says, "Hey boys, the impression I get is Xbox are just going to concentrate on the big existing IPs like COD, Forza, Fallout, Elder Scrolls, etc., and have no interest in new IPs or smaller art ones like Double Fine do. They're cleaning out the studios that aren't attached to the big IPs and are going to ramp up the ones that are to get those out the door sooner. What say ye?" I mean they've pretty much said as much. Like they've talked about that, so yeah. I mean, I get that's the impression I get. You know, for sure,
Ye-
right?
Yeah, I think the idea of, I think Xbox kind of like, they want to go back to the 360 era in some ways, where it's like instead of competing with these studios, they want to clear the floor for more smaller teams to grow, because it wasn't in the past, and it's kind of like it's not really in Microsoft's DNA to want to compete with its own partners. This is why like Surface pulled back so hard. Like for a while there was like Surface was competing on the low end, the mid range, the high end, and like their OEM partners must have been like, hang on a sec, you're making better laptops than us. Like That was supposed to be us. That was supposed to be our market. So like the idea that Microsoft like wants to compete with its dev partners, like kind of it can't rub them the right way, you know. So while I do think like Microsoft wants to be you know, have these sort of big franchises which lets them compete with the likes of Tencent and China, you know, with your things like Overwatch and Call of Duty. Because that's really what the idea is with buying Activision. It wasn't necessarily like, oh, we're going to compete with Sony. It was more like we're going to compete with Tencent. You know, Candy Crush, um, the biggest game in the world right now. What is it called? It's called Heroes of Kings or something like that. Some mobile game, like, and it's got like a annual revenue that's as big as all of Xbox by itself. You know, it's like these games are so big. It's so monstrously big. And that's kind of like where Microsoft was going when they purchased Activision Blizzard. Is like we want to compete with that, you know. But when they acquired all those smaller studios, it was like it was in the realms of the budget they had at the time, which was under Terry Myerson, I think, at the tail end of that stuff, and it was how much they could invest in. And I think the Matt Booty's whole thing was like we can grow these studios into something more. But then the opportunity of a lifetime came around, which was like we could actually buy Activision Blizzard. This is the opportunity of a lifetime. We need to go for it. And now it's like the industry's changed and the market for those smaller games is gone to Roblox, man. So I think they want to clear the floor for those kind of devs. And I think I hate to say it, but I think it's like the right move for those smaller games. I don't think Microsoft has any business trying to compete with them.
Trickster for Trace says Halo Studio needs to let other devs make Halo games. They no longer have my confidence to make good Halo games. It takes too long. The universe has so many stories that should have been explored. They should treat it like Warhammer 40k. So many games for the universe, and a good portion are really good and fun. I mean, there are a lot of Warhammer games.
Dude, like, if you're a Warhammer fan, like, apart from the increasing costs of the figurines and stuff, like, you're kind of in a gaming renaissance right now. You've got like, there's so many amazing Warhammer games to play, like Space Marine, like Dark Tide just got a DLC. You've got like, you know, honestly, like Warhammer 40k Rogue Trader. Even if you're not a Warhammer fan, did I say Warcraft 40k? Even if you're not a Warhammer 40k fan, Rogue Trader, I would argue, is one of the best RPGs of this decade. Even if you're not a fan of 40k, Rogue Trader is absolutely amazing. It's one of the best RPGs I've ever played, and it's just like if you're a Warhammer fan, you are eating right now. Things are so good, and you've got Dark Heresy on the way, and there's even games like Battle Sector and Mechanicus. There's so much good stuff from that universe. So you've got to think like Microsoft's got to be looking at that. Microsoft's got to be looking at like how the Warhammer franchise has grown while also keeping like the lore so consistent. Like it's crazy how like all these studios have outsourced Warhammer and they've still like for the most part nailed the lore and the universe consistency and stuff. Like I don't think World of Warcraft itself handles its own lore well enough. And you've got Warhammer, where Games Workshop is like outsourcing to like tons of random studios, and they're handling the lore better than like Blizzard is handling its own lore. It's kind of crazy. They've got to be looking at some of that stuff. I would hope they are, because Warhammer's just killing it, bro.
Mm-hmm.
You should get into Warhammer, Rand.
Yeah, sure.
I think you like it, bro. There's books. There's
I
books,
know
bro.
there's a lot of them. Dan says WoW Retail versus WoW Classic, Diablo 4 versus Diablo 2 versus Diablo Immortal. Blizzard seemed to really understand the people who play their games and why, and not try to make one gig a game for everyone. Where else do you think Xbox could have a classic versus retail split for their IPs to target people who like the IP but expect different experiences?
Well, I think Master Chief Collection was supposed to be that, wasn't it?
Sure.
Like, there's definitely like, and also like you've seen Age of Empires. Like you've got Age of Empires 4, which tries to do something a bit new, but then you've got Age of Empires 2, which is keeping that going. Um, you know, I'd be interested to see what like the Warcraft RTS looks like if that is real. Um, but I really think one of the things they need to do is remake Fallout 1. Like if you look at Baldur's Gate 3 and how well Baldur's Gate 3 did, there is definitely a market for this retro sort of isometric turn-based kind of game, as long as it's like up to a quality bar. So I think like for a Fallout turn-based game that's in the vein of Fallout 1 and 2, even a remake of Fallout 1 and 2, I think would absolutely clean up. Even if it's a retro remake of Fallout 1 and 2, like Fallout 1 is really hard to play by modern standards. But the story delivery and the world and the the immersion, like it's still there. It's just it's not easy playing a game like designed for MS DOS or like Windows 95 or whatever it was. Get AJH in chat says get an XL to make it, give it the Wasteland 3 trim. I mean, yeah, you've got the engine there, man. Slap it on the Wasteland 3 engine, man. I don't know. But they did hire Tim Kaine. They've got all the classic Fallout creators there now. They've got Tim Kaine, they've got Brian Fargo, they've got Josh Sawyer, they've got like Todd Howard. They've got the alumni, the Fallout alumni, all there in-house. A classic Fallout game would be my pick. I know Rand's pick would be Banjo though, because we all know Rand loves Banjo.
Sure. We got Stupa. He says, "Hi, gentlemen. I pre-ordered the new Kingdom Hearts collection since it's for the series consoles. I booted up my ROG X by accident to find it installable on the device. That said, Jez, since it appears to be Play Anywhere, will you be playing Kingdom Hearts now? Highly recommend."
Honestly, like I do want to give it a go. Like, I tweeted that out the other day. I was looking at like what came up. I opened the Microsoft Store to update something, and there was an ad for Final Fantasy Resonant on the Microsoft Store, and I was like, oh shit, Final Fantasy Resonant is going to be Xbox Play Anywhere because of course it is. And then I clicked on it, and then I clicked on like publisher to see like all the publishers' games. So I click on Square Enix, and it's like it shows all the games that Square Enix have put through the Microsoft Store, and it's a lot. Bravely Default is Xbox Play Anywhere. You got Final Fantasy, like of course you got like 7 Retro Integrate, and you've got like Octopath Traveler and the Dragon Quest games. Like all of these games have gone like Xbox Play Anywhere. And it's such a turnaround, isn't it, Rand? Such a turnaround from where we were with Square Enix, where it's like they weren't releasing anything. They weren't releasing anything on Xbox, and now they're releasing everything with every Xbox feature going. It's so, as a Final Fantasy fan and a Square Enix fan in general, it's so great to see. But yeah, Kingdom Hearts Collection 1 to 3, like it's up on the Microsoft Store right now, and well, this is interesting, Rand. I've never seen this before. So I clicked on Kingdom Hearts Collection 1 to 3 pre-order, and it's come up with 50% off because of your loyalty to the franchise.
Yeah, I saw that.
I've never seen that before. Loyalty to the franchise? I've never played the franchise, so what? I'm gonna pre-order it. The 50% off? Yeah, why not? I'll fucking buy it. You've pulled me in. I'll buy it. I pre-ordered it. So yeah, I'm gonna play Kingdom Hearts for the first time on my Xbox Ally.
There you go.
Let's do it. When's it coming out? 6th of October. It says there. So yeah, I'm on it. I pre-ordered it. There you go. So whoever super chatted that just cost me $30.
As
Patreon. Yeah, there you go.
See what he says.
So, yeah,
Greetings, fellas. Assuming id and Machine Games remain on the roster, where do you think their future lies? With Asha, will Asha find the rumored Quake to be big enough title? Will Machine Games become the Indiana Jones factory? Or will they be conscripted into Halo or Brotherhood of Steel shooters? Thanks for the show, and good luck to everyone on Black Monday. Well, I think Machine Games is going to be doing Wolfenstein because of the TV show. Maybe
Machine Games is on Wolfenstein.
Yeah,
they're working on it already, from what I've heard.
Yeah, maybe they go back to Indiana Jones after that, potentially, but I think it's Wolfenstein for them. As for id, I don't know.
Halo.
I mean, do they do Quake? I don't know. Do they do another Doom? I mean, I'm very interested in seeing the revelations in this new Doom game, or the Doom DLC for Dark Ages. Supposed to be like a 12-hour DLC, which is kind of crazy.
That is wild, man.
I know.
Dude, we were talking about impatience earlier. One of the games I tried to get into again was Doom the Dark Ages when I was playing Avowed on vacation. Something about the Dark Ages just feels off to me. I don't know what it is. It's just like you spend more time like slamming things with your shield and shooting and looking for green projectiles like it's Guitar Hero and stuff. Like something just doesn't sit right with me in that game. Like it almost feels like too arcadey, kind of, which is seems weird to say about Doom, but I don't know. And the music's terrible. The music is such a downgrade. So I don't know, but I'm hoping the DLC will be good.
John says, Jens, with Xbox seemingly locked into AMD's Helix chips, they probably can't change the processor, but they can still cut
Yeah.
costs by tweaking the RAM, storage, or even dropping the disk drive. What other cost-saving measures do you think Xbox might consider to keep the launch price low? One idea, locking access to other storefronts like Steam behind a Game Pass Ultimate subscription as a way to subsidize cheaper hardware. Curious what you think. Well, we sort of already kind of talked about that. There was another question that was very similar to this.
Yeah. I mean, the dropping like having a SKU that has nothing in it. So they did this with the 360, which is where my idea came from. And the idea was like, the 360 had a SKU that didn't come with a hard drive. You just ran the game off the disc. You could do that back then. But now, like, I've got an NVMe lying around. I could put if they released a SKU that was like bring your own memory, then they could potentially offer a version that would maybe appeal to some people. But then it's like, how much retail space? How much of a problem is that going to be? You know, Uh, hopefully they're looking at these kind of solutions, but clearly, like, I don't think releasing a $1,400 box is an option. Like, even $1,000 box is a real stretch for me. Like, consoles are supposed to be affordable, and wages have not kept up with inflation. The whole business model of console revolved around affordability, and affordability's gone out the window. So, you know, it's going to be really interesting to see what kind of innovations they do on that level. I suppose we just got to watch this space, man.
All right. Bilal says, let's see here. What's up, guys? If that Chris String report is even slightly true, I want to discuss what it says about developers being mad at how Asha is prioritizing speed and listening to consultants rather than listening to devs. One, why should she listen to them? Phil listened to them, gave them full creative freedom, and what happened then? Two, they say
Mm.
they are being punished for bad COD sales. Okay, fine. But what about taking 6 to 8 years and spending 100 million on a game that literally nobody bought? I'm sorry, but that's the truth. I like those games, but the majority didn't even play them on Game Pass or buy them on PS5. Even though I love those games and studios, I can't with a straight face say that it's okay to keep doing that. Creative freedom, everyone go ahead and make Kiln 2 in 6 years. Sorry for my rant, but what do you guys think? Because I certainly think some big decisions are needed. I loved Hellblade 2, but I got 1,000 out of 1,000 in 5 hours, and it was just a better looking Hellblade 1, almost the same length. How much did that sell on PS5? What about Keeper, Kiln, and South of Midnight on PS5? How much did they sell versus their budget and years in development? But please, don't touch State of Decay 3.
Mm. I mean, I think there's blame all around. Like there's blame to be had probably by marketing. Marketing has some blame to shoulder here. Maybe Phil and Matt for greenlighting some of those projects in the first place probably have some blame to shoulder. I think there's blame all around for why some of these games were greenlit and why there was like maybe an overabundance. It's really weird to say this, but an overabundance of creative freedom. I think there is a point where you just have to be like, bro, this game ain't gonna sell. Like I ain't a game dev consultant. I ain't a game dev. But I think everyone here would agree. Like some of the games that were greenlit under Xbox, you knew they were gonna do badly. They were gonna do really, really badly. Like, why do these games have to exist at all? Who are they? Who are they really serving? Are they for the audience, or are they for themselves? And I think like there were the Microsoft probably fostered a culture where it was like, hey ho, do whatever you want, and there was never any accountability on like have to actually sell a product. And Dingle Not in chat says it's pretty easy after hindsight. Yeah,
Yeah,
hindsight
sure.
is 2020.
But it also just
But
goes to show you how important Call of Duty is to their whole bottom line. That if like, and I guess maybe
and Candy Crush.
that's like a problem. Like one bad Call of Duty, and this is what ends up happening. Where it was like, holy
Mm.
shit, but then it affects like the other stuff that isn't making money, and now like because of that, it's like, well, those are on the line because our golden goose and the thing that's basically carrying the division or the revenue like took a massive hit. Um,
Yeah.
I mean, I think there was the part of the Dring article that mentioned like someone that said, "Oh, if they think taking the $50 million budget for Double Fine and then throwing that on Halo is going to make Halo a 90 plus Metacritic masterpiece, then they're fucking ridiculous." I sort of kind of feel like that's probably true. Like if you're just saying, "Well, we get rid of Double Fine and that cost us a $30 million to run every year and we just take that $30 million and throw it into Halo." I sort of agree like that's not going like you know, I don't think it really necessarily do much. You know what I mean? Um, but yeah. Uh,
Mm.
let's see what else we got here. Uh, but yes, Jez would agree with you about not touching State of Decay 3 though. That's his baby. That's his baby for
For what
sure.
it's worth, right now I'm not worried about State of Decay 3. I was a few days ago because of what I heard that they were in those discussions, but no, I'm not worried about State of Decay 3.
Shay Elephant says, "Happy Friday, Rand and Jez. My question this week is: after all the doom and gloom, what do you think the next good Xbox news will be? Have a good weekend." I mean, maybe something around the 25th anniversary.
Mm.
Maybe you get some cool announcements. Although it's also sad all this is happening on the 25th anniversary, anyways. But yeah, maybe then.
Mm.
Frosty says, "Hey guys, with PlayStation bowing out from physical discs for next gen, and how the gaming community as a whole has shown their disapproval of such decision, I think Xbox has a chance here to separate themselves for next gen. Xbox should find a way for physical discs to play via the Microsoft Xbox Store for Helix. We all know PC has been digital only for like 20 or so years now, but with Xbox wanting to somewhat compete with Steam on the PC storefront, offering consumers a chance to buy their games for PC physically would be a decent proposition to sway gamers from Steam and to invest into the Microsoft Store Xbox PC app ecosystem. At least
Mm.
it's something they could offer for first party Xbox titles. They could bundle an external Blu ray player with Helix and sell it to anybody so they can use it with their Windows PC as well. While a cool idea, it seems like a total long shot based on trends of digital and physical ownership and state of Windows and physical media. What do you guys think? I also think, while a cool idea, I think it's a complete long shot, and I honestly don't think it's going to happen. I think you said it at the end there. You sort of answered your own question. It's a complete long shot. Like I don't see that happening. Jez, nothing.
Sorry, got a work message.
All right.
Bear with me one moment.
Good old Collinwood says hello, Rand and Jez. Some weeaboo moments here. Rand, you saw the Cyberpunk Edge Runner 2 trailer earlier this week. If you like what you saw, may I recommend to both of you Ghost in the Shell, one of the original Cyberpunk anime, starting on the 7th on Amazon Prime. I mean, we'll see. We'll see. I know about Ghost in the Shell, but I've never watched it. But I am super
Oh
excited
boy.
for what?
Oh boy, I said you
Yeah.
are in for a treat, I think.
Well, I'm not gonna watch it, so it doesn't matter.
Oh, GG.
But who knows? We'll see. Gustav says, Jez, belated huge congrats on your engagement. Awesome news.
Hang on a
Gents,
sec. Hang on a sec. Before you read that one, what was the previous question that I missed? Sorry.
about like bundling an external Blu-ray player, about like having physical copies for PC games. You know?
Who said that? Oh, Frosty.
Yeah.
Uh, I mean, there is an opportunity potentially with differentiation, but I think it's just you hope that like, oh, could Microsoft do something here where it's like they're really truly just skewer Sony and stuff, but it just feels like the economics of digital has just collapsed. I mean, physical. Sorry, it feels like the economics and the supply chain economics have just collapsed the physical. So, but I really think that both Xbox and Sony are doing themselves a disservice here with the younger cohorts because there is this trend towards analog again. B, governments are looking at banning digital stuff for youngsters. So one way you could get around those bans is to offer physical access. that are locked down, and C, um, what happened to the whole like the Christmas rush where, you know, you're gonna give your kids like a cardboard, a piece of cardboard with a code on it for Christmas? Like the whole sort of nostalgia of like, oh man, I got this, this cool ass game I wanted for Christmas. Like to this day, I remember getting Sonic 2 for Christmas. And it like I feel like a digital code in an envelope wouldn't hit as hard. I don't remember any of the times that I got money in a card for Christmas. I remember the physical gifts that I got. And I think this rush to digital everything, algorithms, AI, is making us all dumber. But the problem is, in our system, it's all about money, and people vote with their wallets. They've used Spotify, they've ditched the discs, they've ditched CDs. That's why this is happening at the end of the day. And I don't think Xbox is typically not the kind of company that will go against the grain, but I suppose we'll see, man.
Gustav says, Gents, is it just me or have recent events highlighted how the Xbox tax is alive and strong as ever? In the same period of Xbox bad news, PlayStation has laid off at least half of the greatest developer of all time, Bungie, literally deleted content people have paid for, and abandoned physical discs. Not saying that anyone has said those are good things, but people would have lost their minds if this were Xbox in a way they just haven't because it's not. I don't necessarily agree with there. People have lost their minds more than I thought with the physical disc stuff. And actually, I think maybe this is a hot take. I think the reaction to PlayStation ditching the disc is bigger than if Microsoft had done it, because I think PlayStation is such a bigger brand worldwide and it impacts more people. I
Yeah,
actually
it's like I said earlier. I think people would have expected Xbox to do
yeah.
this. People didn't expect Sony to do
So
this,
I
and I think
actually I
Sony
actually
Sony cornered that market. Sony cornered the retail market, so more people are impacted. So
yeah. So I think I think the outrage against Xbox would actually be lower. I know that's like a hot take. Maybe some of you guys disagree with that, but I don't know. Like, see some of the stuff I'm seeing here, uh, goes beyond what I thought. The reaction would be. So,
I
um,
do think there is a tax with some specific outlets. For example, I feel like Linus Tech Tips, for example. Linus Tech Tips has not done a video about PlayStation dropping discs. I feel like if Xbox and Microsoft had done that, he would have gone in, because
maybe.
he doesn't like Microsoft. So I think like there is some of it, but it depends on the, I suppose, the biases and preferences and the interests of the individual content creators at the end of the day. Yeah, I don't know.
Um, let's see here. We have Goggles Lens. With all these layoffs that seem to be happening any day now, it feels like they are reverting back to 2013 Xbox ish, where they only had 5 studios. True. It seems they're going to go for more of a big IP, use big IPs and ignore everything else. So just wait 5 to 6 years for another game, and we will at +1 to it and never do anything original. Do you think they can be Sony that can release 2 games in a year and people think that's amazing? I just hope that's not the response to the many games coming out right now, because these games are the funding from COVID, maybe. And once them and GTA dry up years down the line, then there will not be many games coming out anymore. I would think that Asha would be more long term thinking than that, but who knows? Well,
Well, here's the thing about that is like back in the day, there was like 1,000 games released a year. Now there's like 1,000 games released a month. So they're kind of clearing the floor so that creators can, their third party creators can have more of the revenue, which honestly I think is kind of the right idea. Like these are studios that like they have more control over their overheads and their economics, whereas like Xbox doesn't have as much control over its overheads because they have to follow Microsoft's corporate rules, which is, why there's rumors they might become a subsidiary, because then they would have more control over their financials. But like the amount of overheads that exist in Xbox precludes them from making these kind of smaller games. Whereas like if you're an indie studio, you potentially grow more organically and pay your studio more appropriately and fund games like, in a way that is like, this is a passion project or whatever, and we're going to fund it as via Kickstarter or via early access and things that like Microsoft as a company doesn't necessarily have access to. So I think it is the right thing clear the floor for smaller devs, and there's not going to be any shortage of games. No, there's not going to be
Well,
a
it
shortage of
depends.
games at
If
all.
you're just someone who likes the big AAA stuff, there might be eventually, because games take a long time. But even if you look at, let's just
I
say,
don't think even from AAA games, there's not going to be a shortage, in my opinion.
well,
There's more. Look at September, for God's sake. There's more games than ever.
true.
More games than ever. I'm not expecting there to be any kind of real. I'm not expecting there to be any kind of real shortage of games.
His
They
point about could Xbox release a couple games a year like PlayStation does, potentially. I mean, but then again, you look at the studios that might be getting sold or shifted away. So that Compulsion took 6 or 7 years to make one game. I mean, could they have done South of Midnight 2 faster? Potentially, but that's just one game. Um, what's another one? Double Fine. I mean, they did 2 games in the span of like 6 months, but people forgot about them right away. Uh, maybe they could have gotten maybe a couple games out faster. Ninja Theory seems to be 3 years, 4 years for something. Uh, what else? Blade's taken a long time, I think, because they shipped Deathloop in 2021. It's 2026, 5 years. And if the game's coming out next year, that's 6 years. That's a long time in between stuff. I mean, I guess you
mm,
could say like, yeah, like they do still have a lot of studios, but Fable's taken a long time. Undead Labs has taken a long time. I mean, even Forza Horizon 6 took a long time. Halo, the next Halo's taken like everything's taking a longer time. So you need more studios and stuff. So yeah, maybe we won't see another year like we had last year where they released 12 games. Or this year, I think this year they have what? How many this year? Let's see. What did they release this year, Jez? They have Gears, Halo,
mm.
Minecraft Dungeons, Forza Horizon 6. Is that it? Is this 4 games? Do they have any more? Am I missing on something?
Up, updates for
Well,
service
I'm just
game.
talking new games. Like, what were the new games that Xbox released this year? Forza
Mm,
Horizon 6 came out in May. Halo's coming out in July. Gears is coming out in October.
Kiln,
Kiln
Kiln.
came out in April, so that's 4. Minecraft
It's like,
Dungeons is coming out in
mm,
September. Call of Duty, that's 5, so like 6. Maybe that's the output you're looking for. Maybe like 4 or 5 games. I,
mm.
even in 2027, what are we looking at next year? You're looking at State of Decay 3, presumably, Clockwork Revolution, Spyro, a new COD. I mean, that's 4 games. Fable, that's 5 games. Um, you know, OD is OD next year. I mean, we also had the confirmation that Project Fantasy by IO Interactive was canceled. I was sort of kind of still even shocked that it was with Xbox because Xbox canceled a lot of third party Xbox Global Publishing games last year, which it survived those cuts. And it is kind of like sad, like considering IO Interactive, it's had a couple big hits. I mean, Hitman 3 was pretty big, and 007 is also a pretty successful hit. And it's like you don't want to be in the IO Interactive business. I know like their next game is maybe a different sort of thing for them, but man, are we really like cutting budgets to the point where you don't even have anything brewing at Xbox Global Publishing from third-party partners outside of Kojima because you just could not cancel a Kojima game. People would have been developers would have looked at you like you were nuts if you did so, right? Like so
Yeah.
uh what do you think? Is OD next year? Is OD 2028? Is Blade next year? I mean, we maybe get like 6 games next year. I don't know about the year after that, but
Mm.
maybe it's like, hey, maybe you get 5 games a year. Uh, but I don't know. I don't know. We got first and 15th says need some research on what happened with Perfect Dark. It'd be interesting to see the story on that. I think it was kind of scrapped and started over, and then they found Crystal Dynamics, and they just need a lot of time. And Xbox was cutting budget. easy thing to
Yeah,
cut, I guess. I don't know. Expensive game, a very expensive game.
true that.
That's also a blemish on them. Like you fund the studio in 2018 and never released a goddamn thing, and just shut it down. Good job, guys. Anyways,
It's gonna
uh,
be tough. Next week is gonna be tough.
yeah, we'll see what's going to be going on next week. Whether Sony backtracks on this, what studios remain and what projects remain. Hopefully, the cuts aren't as bad, and so people don't lose their jobs. But
I
that's
think the
it.
cuts are gonna be bad. They're
Well,
gonna be bad.
but that's it from us. Hope you enjoyed the show. If you did, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Appreciate you. Check out Surfshark, our sponsor. 86% off 2-year deal. Links in the description. Surfshark.net/XB2. Join our Patreon, patreon.com/XB2 to support us directly. Love you guys. And we will see you next week. See what happens.
Indeed.
Later, everyone.
Take
Keep it
care.
gaming.
Rock and roll, baby.